If you like the video, please consider supporting James Corp on Patreon. And hello everyone, and welcome. Another attempt at doing 7th Sea. And I'm not the GM, so it will probably be much better. Yeah, hi everyone. We've got some new faces that you've probably never seen. We've got faces that you may have recognised from previous shows, and you've got faces that you may have recognised from other channels. So yes, we're gonna go around the table, get people to introduce themselves, and then we'll crack on with making some characters. And then once that's done, next week we'll fire up and have a good old swashbuckling game next week, I think is what the plan is. Alright, hi Henley, how you doing?
Good. How are you, James?
I'm alright.
Hey everyone, my name's Dave. I'm a former content creator here on Twitch. Probably close to maybe 4,000 hours of recorded role-playing content on my YouTube that you can go check out. James is in some of them. He's been beating around the bush with me for a while now. So we actually did do a 7 Seas game together, lo and behold. So that was kind of like a weird game, wasn't it? It was like it started off as 7 Seas, then the GM was like, fuck this shit, and swapped over to Savage Worlds.
Then we swapped back.
And then we swapped back when he left, and then I took over, and I was like, fucking. So just so everyone knows, I'm going to be playing a sort of like a character that I played on that game, because I never really got to play that character the way I wanted to, because the GM kept changing things from under us. So, it would be nice to play that character again. So, yeah. What else? If you can, I'm also working right now as a game publisher, so you can go check out my games on Steam. The last one we released is Apparition. It's a fairly scary spooky detective game. So go check that out if you want. But other than that, yeah, that's me.
Cool. Dark Liquid, aka Monty.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Dark Liquid. You can find me on Twitter under the same name. I write the occasional bit of RPG content. I've published a couple of things, sort of self-published wise, for Numenera and other bits and pieces. In terms of what I'm going to be playing in this game, I don't know yet. I've got some ideas, but we'll see how it pans out.
So on the edge.
I'm Sir on the Edge, aka Charles. I don't do much else other than on the internet that's visible, other than on this channel, but you can always find me on Discord.
Matt.
So I'm Matt. I will be the GM for this adventure. I first ran 7C at Gen Con for John Wicks Presents, and I love the setting.
He knows what he's doing. See?
But I'll try not to change things too much, so at least Dave will be happy that the setting won't keep changing.
I'm a bit of a role stickler, so
and as long as we don't suddenly, a couple of sessions in, change from one set of rules to a completely different set of rules.
No, we won't do that.
All right, cool.
I have enough trouble keeping track of the one. My entire online presence to date, it really is based on my former career as a patent lawyer, and we'll see how that changes over time. If this goes well, who knows? I may develop a new online persona. And if not, then I may go into hiding. One interesting thing about this game is we'll see how it develops. I actually don't know what the story will be. Part of the mission of today's session is to let people develop their characters, and we'll get a feel for what kind of story people want. Because as a game master, I tend to like to help the players tell their stories rather than me coming with a pre-written novel that I want them to act out. No offense to those of you who do that, but that's not really my thing. I think I'm just too lazy to write all that stuff out, so I want the players to do more of the work for me.
No, I can get down with that.
Yeah, that's a GM off my own heart.
Backgrounds are really good for that.
So with that, so many of you probably have, if you run games, you may do a session 0, you may not. I find them very helpful, because rather than just trying to jump into an adventure where everyone meets at a tavern, this way we can try and build out characters and figure out pre-existing connections with them. I have done the everyone meets at a tavern thing, and I don't know that 7C is very well suited to that. Then it just takes a while to get things going. So I know that some of you brought character ideas with you. Some of you are still a little new or are still figuring out what you want to do. So who has an idea that they'd like to discuss first?
Should we discuss what sort of game people are interested in playing first?
Well, I think we can do that along the way, but sure.
Right.
So what sort of game do people want to play? I heard we were discussing this a little before the stream started, and I think there's an inclination towards some shipboard swashbuckling. Anything else?
That's definitely what I definitely regret not having a ship from the start in my attempt at running 7th Sea.
Sorry to interrupt real quick. If you want to know how to say that soothsayer word, I just checked. My wife's Polish, so that's what she was doing here.
Well, all right. Well, so why don't we go? Or do you need to say it now before you forget?
Say it again.
Genies.
Genies.
Genius.
Genie?
Genies.
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 Genies. Yeah?
Genies.
Genies.
It's like more
Genies.
tough.
Genies.
Genies.
Genies. There you go. Fucking
Genies.
bite down on that one, man.
Genies. Okay.
When I was in graduate school, my advisors were Polish, and one of them tried to explain to me how to pronounce his last name, and he would say Trushinsky, and I would say Trushinsky, and he'd say, no, that's not right. And I could not hear the difference between the word that he had said and the word that I had said.
Yeah, that's me. Married to someone who corrects me constantly about that stuff. So
anyway, where were we?
Yeah,
we're discussing what we're doing.
Yeah, in terms of stuff I'd like to see, I mean, I generally quite like sort of exploration / discovery type things going on. So, I mean, whether that's discovering things about yourself or discovering things about the world, like uncovering a mystery and getting to its conclusion. I'm, not too fussed which one it is type thing, but or both, for all the better. But that kind of thing, I generally like. There's some kind of mystery that needs solving, and you have to explore and uncover things to be able to do it. Kind of like a. I mean, to a certain degree, sort of like a Indiana Jonesy, sort of Tomb Raider-y type, thing.
But would it also be okay if it turns out that the secret to true happiness was always inside you?
It turns out it's we discovered the true meaning of Christmas or something. Sure, yeah.
Okay.
The other benefit about being a crew on a ship, especially if it's our own ship, is it's really easy to bring someone in when he eventually gets his internet back, because he could be just someone who's part of the crew already. Do you know what I mean? Whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot easier to bring people in when we're the driving force of the. Well, I know we're the driving force of the game anyway, but we.
Okay, I'm the game master. I can bring anyone in that I damn
All right.
Yeah.
I was just making.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not difficult to make narrative fixes in a game like this.
No, I can bring them.
Ready. It's easy.
You don't need to sell me on the shipboard. If everybody else wants the ship is fine.
It's a pirate game. I haven't played one before. I would like a ship. That's
all
the
right.
only reason. My character does not need it, but I want it.
Well, there you go. Well, so maybe your character actually gets seasick. I don't know. We'll figure that out. So let's see. So I've got Monty. So Dave, do you have any preferences, or you're just going to go along with what everyone else wants?
Well, I mean, here's the thing about this game. The lore is very cool. I like it quite a bit. I've sort of decided that my character is going to be a sort of around like a thief sort of thing, So
right.
that generally means having prey, I guess, right? For the most part, to thieve from.
But don't forget that you're a hero in this game. This is not D&D where you can play an evil character.
Oh, I know.
All people are heroes. All characters are heroes.
Yeah. And
you're like the great mouser.
They still have, you say that, but then they have like backgrounds in assassination and murdering people and stuff like that in here too. So, there's a bunch of really interesting things that you can do here. So I guess for that particular thing, it means that there needs to be, I guess, like some sort of political intrigue where that sort of stuff would make sense. Or if that is impossible based on everyone else's thoughts, something whimsical or something high, like super, diving into the magic system in this world, for example. Even if I'm not capable of magic myself, having some sort of representation of the systems in play would be really cool. So.
Okay. I will say that the magic in 7th Sea is really diverse. Unlike, any other game I've seen, there are, I don't even know how many different sorcery systems. I'm sure someone can post how many there are, but there are at least half a dozen, maybe closer to a dozen different systems. And they're quite different.
I mean, in the base book, there's only 6, so, but yeah.
Right, but then each new book adds more because every nation has its own tradition of sorcery. And there's a little similarity, I think, that, for example, Oxum in the Ifri, which is the African parallel, is very similar to Sandaris, except that they recruit children instead of adults. So the Sandaris practitioners think that they're better because they don't bind children to demons, but whether we explore that or not depends on whether we go to those countries. All right, and Charles, so you are quite new to this setting. So, and I know you want to do a little sorcery. It sounds like you want to be on a ship. Anything else? What else would you like to get from the game?
I'll just react to whatever. I've been role playing for ages. So it just depends on what happens and what the other players want to go towards, and hopefully I'll just add to that.
All right.
As long as there's a ship, I'm happy.
I mean, we kind of
obviously I've got my character will have his own demon and stuff, which he'll carry around with
literally
him forever. Yeah. So, okay, where can I be in this world where this isn't a thing? Nowhere. Fine.
Exactly. Well, so Charles, let's start with your character concept, because you had some questions about the sorcery that I thought might be fun to tell people about. So you're interested in being from the Sarmatian Commonwealth, which is the parallel of Poland, where Dave happens to be living right now. Wait, is that okay for me to say? Forget that I said that.
No, that's fine.
It's a big
It's
country.
fine.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Actually, it's actually a fairly small country, but it's cool.
The odds of finding you are still pretty small. But anyway, so the national sorcery is Sandaris. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but we'll go with that. So Charles's character is interested in binding himself to a demon, and the demon will do favors. So the interesting thing about Sandaris is that you actually don't do magic. You ask your demon to do favors for you. And in exchange for the favors, there's a price to pay, as in all dealings with demons. Now, the minor favors that you'll see listed there are ones that you can just ask for, and the cost will be pretty small. The cost will be things like you have to thank me sincerely, or, tell me how much you like my poetry, or, sorry, that's a Douglas Adams reference. Anyway, wow, I'm old. Anyway, so the cost will be pretty minor. The major favors, which are very large favors, things like go destroy that town for me, those will cost you. They'll cost you in terms of corruption to your soul, and there will be very large costs in terms of what you have to pay the demon. So actually, to link back to something that Dave said about the thief, in this game, everyone is supposed to be a hero. If you don't act in that way, there is actually a price to pay. There's a mechanism called corruption, which we may or may not see depending on what people do. And as you do bad things, you get points of corruption. Every time you get points of corruption, I get to roll to see if your character turns into a villain. And if he does, then I take it over, and it becomes my character to play with. And you have to start over. So there are risks to being evil. You will get corruption, and if you get corruption, you run the risk of losing your character. So that's John Wick's part of his philosophy of making sure that there are game mechanisms to enforce your code. Because one of the frustrations of D&D for many people is that there's this alignment system, but if you don't act in accordance with your alignment, there's really not that much of a penalty in most games. So, oh well, you're neutral good, but you just murdered 3 children and 2 old women in a town to take their money. Oh well. So anyway, there's a penalty here. So let's see. So Charles, do you have more thoughts about? You have a nation, which is good, and you want to be. Well, Dave, how do we pronounce that again?
We've already forgotten. We've already forgotten.
All right, the moment's gone.
Sorry.
Here's what you can do in the
Moment's gone.
when you edit this video, James. Just take that moment in time when my wife said that word and just
Женись.
Janish.
So being from Sarmatia, you will get a particular bonus. Let's talk briefly about the stats in 7C. So the stats in 7C are a bit simplified from some. There are 5 of them. There's brawn, finesse, resolve, wits, and panache. And I will give you the standard John Wick explanation of the stats. Imagine that you have to escape from a room that's on fire. So to use brawn, you would just punch your way through the door, maybe kick it down and escape from the fire. If you used finesse, you might jump up to the rafters, swing towards the window, fly through the window, do a somersault, and land in the bale of hay that was below. If you use resolve, you do sort of the Bruce Willis in Die Hard, just kind of walk through the fire and you don't worry about it. You're just tough and you just walk through the fire and get out. Wits, perhaps you see a blanket up in the rafters or a tapestry. You find a way to, you realize that you can do something in the room to get the tapestry down, which you then use to cover yourself and escape through the fire that way. And then panache would be you persuade someone who is there to carry you out of the fire on their back or his or her back. So those are the 5 statistics. So Charles, you being from Sarmatia, you get +1 in brawn or +1 in panache. It's your choice. And then after that, you will get an additional 2 points to spend as you wish in those statistics, in those traits.
Panache.
All right. And let's see.
Is
And
there
so
a limit
Dave,
to how high it can go at this point or not?
It goes to 3.
for
I
traits,
believe.
there's no limit, only skills. We'll talk about skills there. You won't be able to go over 3, but we're not at skills yet. And I guess you've already picked your one of your backgrounds, which is Zinnish, and we'll come back to you. And because as we develop characters, you may find that there's another background that fits in with what everybody else is doing. So Dave, Dave, let's hold off on you because I think you're sort of trying to meld with what everyone else is doing. So Monty, do you know what you're going to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, the idea I had was this sort of half Eisen, half Fadachi hex. So the whole weird eating dead things to do magic-y stuff.
Oh my god. Heroes, ladies and gentlemen, right?
Well, assuming he actually does do Hexenwerk, we'll see that it's incredibly disgusting.
Yeah.
Forte is actually really disgusting too. Like,
It has
literally
nothing on Hexenwerk.
you cut a hole in the universe and then you walk through it, like, and it's all bloody and gross. I have a feeling that most of the sorcery in this game is going to be gross, right?
No, it sounds
Not
like,
necessarily.
yeah. I mean, if we're going consorting with demons and then eating corpses, we've got quite a motley crew of like grim stuff going on.
Yeah, you'll have to put a content warning up, James.
Yeah.
I guess you already have one.
Yeah, I'm already an adult. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, thank fucking Christ. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. Because we swear. I don't
Yeah,
get
so
it.
Monty, let me ask you, so do you want to be from Eisen or do you want to be from Vadachi?
I mean, I'm thinking in terms of, I don't know. I'm kind of split on either. It's like, I mean, I guess if I wanted,
there
to
is a character. There's a character advantage you can take at character creation.
Foreign born.
Foreign born.
So you can be sort of both, but you do, and I think if you really want to practice Hexenwerk, you should probably be from Eisen, but you could be foreign born, which sort of lets you, when it's helpful socially, you can also be from Vadachi.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether I'm sold on Hex yet, so.
Well, so we can come back to that then if you want to think about it.
Ow,
Yeah,
shit.
like, I mean, both Eisen and Vadachi are the nations that stood out to me. I'm finding it hard to decide which one I want to do really. So I think potentially later options are going to help me lock in which one I want to go for. But
right. Well, so a little bit about Eisen. So Eisen is obviously based on Germany, but in this world, it is so after the War of the Cross, which is sort of the 30 Years' War equivalent, was fought to a draw. Eisen did not come out very well. Basically, it is now a land of monsters. There are literally horrors everywhere in Eisen that people have to deal with. Everything from zombies, vampires, just all kinds of horrible monsters that people. Yeah, that's what they deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, so that is the kind of like Ravenloft of Théah.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. So if you want, certainly if you're going to be from Eisen, will have to deal with. I think we should include monsters. So if you want monsters, that's not a bad place to be from. If you don't want the horror aspect of it, then maybe be from somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how. I don't want to necessarily create a situation where like I'm in conflict with Charles's character, because I mean, he's walking around with, "Hey, here's my demon buddy," and it's like.
Well, the thing about Hex is that it's really useful against monsters.
Yeah.
So in order to give you things to do, if you're going to go that route, we would want to have monsters. Otherwise, you'll just be sitting around eating disgusting foods for no reason.
One of the
like
things
Anthony Bourdain
about Soothsayer is that I've tricked the demon. It's not a friend, and it wants to get out of the pact.
Well, yeah, that's always the way it is. Yep.
So it's not like you'll necessarily see me as someone that has sided with the demon.
Yeah.
I've tricked it and have some control over it by knowing.
Yeah, I don't know how well Eisen people feel about like people consorting with demons, though. Whether that's like a thing that would really rile me up.
It's an interesting. That's an interesting point, right? Because in Eisen, they live with the horrors and they don't think very much of monsters. So would they respect it? The fact that he has some level of control? Would they think you're insane for consorting with a demon and thinking that you can keep that up for very long? I don't know. And your character might have different views depending on his experience. But Eisen really will tie you to the world of horrors.
Yeah.
So
what's everyone else think? I mean, does involving like supernatural monster-y things in the game something we want to do?
Well, I mean, it's kind of your character. I mean, you could come from that place and just have stories about it, and maybe the GM can rope in some monster that hates you and tracks you down or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be.
Do you want to hear my opinion of what I'd like to experience in 7th Sea? I'd like to visit every fucking nation and have a little taste of every nation. So yes, I'm quite happy to have monsters. I'm quite happy to have a bit of everything. I'd like to have a pie and eat it.
Yeah, I mean, if we want like ships and travel, exploration and discovery, and monsters, and like political intrigue and stuff, like potentially like some kind of like international conspiracy, like thing of discovering mysteries or something like a whole around the world type thing. All nations totally works for that. Yes. Sure. Yeah. Let's go Eisen. Yeah. Let's go Eisen, and we'll see what happens with monsters.
All right. They'll get away with it, except for you meddling kids.
Yeah.
So let's see. So we talked mine. So James, what are you thinking about?
So I was going to play a Montaigne, something related to a Montaigne character, someone who comes from Montaigne, because I know quite a bit about Montaigne. And I was either going to go the route of like being an old sea dog, someone who knows the sea. Maybe not the whole like English piratey thing, but someone who's a bit like, is an old sea dog. He's seen a few voyages, he originates from like Montaigne.
And his
If Henley's already doing Montaigne, because I thought he was going to be.
No, I can do anything, man. You can be.
No. I'm good. I mean, it doesn't matter if. I guess we can be from the same nation. It doesn't matter. But
good. It could give you the chance to have a relationship for some reason. You could be friends. You could be rivals. You could.
But I was thinking something along the lines of like I am, perhaps my family was like noble or of noble birth, and somehow they fell out of favour or something with the king or the emperor of
and basically
the reason why he has a problem with the ATC is perhaps he was shipped off to the ATC at a young age or something, and he works.
Well, so the ATC started in Montagne, and the Emperor kicked them out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he didn't like the idea of a company that was not subject to the authority of a nation.
Maybe.
So they got kicked out, and they are really not welcome.
He's been on the ships since like a young age.
So are you trying to overthrow the Emperor, or are you just trying to get back in his good graces?
I haven't thought that far ahead.
All right, well, so we'll get back to you then.
What do you think? What does everyone else... I mean, I don't know if I mean, how much of the game can we actually change? I mean, as characters. I mean,
I'm open to you changing. I mean, the thing is that the setting, well, we start with the setting, but if things happen, major events happen,
yeah,
and they happen. It's not like we have to go and check in with some authority.
All right.
I mean, we're big damn heroes. If we're going to do something like, humongous, then we'll do it, right? It's
if that's where the story goes.
Situation, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'll be able to do that in the first session, but
I mean, the other
have to work our way up to it.
the other option is similar character, but he's actually Avalon rather than like Montaigne. But I don't know too much about Avalon because I haven't really.
You live there.
I don't live in Avalon, do I? I mean, it's not the same place. I mean, it's like, do you know what I mean? It's not, it's not the same place at all. Really.
Sure it is. They go around going, "Hey, there's King Arthur and the little furries." Same thing.
Okay.
Just like real life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that how it is over there?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah, we all live in a castle, don't we?
Yeah.
All
That's what
live
I
in
thought.
Castles.
I knew it.
Yeah. Yeah, my top hat's in the wash at the moment.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. My monocle's on the floor, I'm afraid. It's
Oh.
in the other set of trousers.
James doesn't know what he's doing. Dave, let's hear from you. You must have some thoughts by now.
Yeah, so James, if you want to go straight down there, that's fine. I will go with the Castile back heritage stuff. That's no problem.
But you could be, you can't, like I said, you
No,
can be from Montaigne as well. It doesn't,
We-
I mean,
we-
it
It's
is
These
a
countries
big,
do have more than one person in them.
yeah, it is.
No, I
that much
understand. I understand, but this sort of fit the character a bit more as well. And so, I'm still thinking of doing the thief. We get one background or two? Is it
You get two
I thought it was
backgrounds.
two backgrounds? Yeah.
Yep.
So,
And then you'll get 10 more points to spend on skills and more points to spend on advantages.
so I think what I'm going to do is, how deep do you want me to go into this? By the way.
Let's go ahead. I mean, if you have a concept, let's hear it, because you may give other
Sure.
people ideas.
So it's a pretty simple concept for a character. The idea is, and it kind of fits well with like the piratey sailing sort of stuff, that wealth is not something to be hoarded; it's something to be spent. So he basically spends his life going from one place to another, finding his fortune, and then spending that fortune. Mostly because it's for him, it's a life about mostly putting himself into situations that he can reverse his own fortune. And that's basically the concept of the character, is that that's something that he wants to experience a lot and often. So
You mean he
Yeah,
likes to
I know.
take risks?
yeah, like taking risks, like the idea of and it doesn't necessarily have to be a thief, right, per se, but the idea of like obtaining a large amount of wealth and then using that wealth very quickly is something that sort of struck
When you
out.
say he uses it, what does he do with it?
Breach of confidence, mostly.
So he spends it on himself.
On himself, yeah. On his friends, basically giving himself a good time, essentially. Yeah.
Now, does he do anything like, say, the character Simon Templar, the Saint?
You mean from the movie The Saint?
Actually, I mean from the Leslie Charteris books and the TV show starring Roger Moore, not the movie.
I don't know them.
It's a little old, but so he's sort of an adventurer. He has a huge amount of money that we never really find out. At least in the TV show, we never find out where it came from. But he also is always doing good. So he travels around the world, spends plenty of money, but he also, helps out the those in need.
I
But
wouldn't
he's
say
sort of a
he's.
thief. The police don't care for him very much.
So he's definitely not a Robin Hood, if that's what you're implying.
No, he's a
definitely in
con
it for
man sort of.
himself. I wouldn't say con man, but he's definitely in it for himself. Whether or not he lets the good, like he does good deeds intentionally is not really up to him. Like if I had to describe him, is a dick with a heart of gold, most likely.
Well, suppose he saw, let's say, a child being beaten by some big man. What would he do?
Well, most likely, he would see it as an opportunity to take what he can from the big man. He would most likely fight him and most likely beat him if we're playing this hypothetical correctly. And then, take what he wants and probably throw his shoes in the river. I don't know.
But would he have any sympathy for a little boy? I mean, the way you just described it, it's just, oh, there's a dick, I'll go beat him up.
Well, I mean, the whole idea of this game is to play heroes, right? So
that's right. So I'm encouraging you. If you can't tell, I'm encouraging you towards being a hero.
Yeah, and the idea of a hero always being a paladin of virtue isn't necessarily a concept that I highly align with. But,
you don't have to be a paladin, absolutely not.
So the idea of this guy doing it for the sake of the child isn't what he would most likely think of. In fact, in the questionnaire, it does ask you about how you feel about other people, and particularly, like one of the examples it uses, how do you feel about the peasantry or anything like that, right, in the questions. And to answer my question there is he doesn't really necessarily like people who can't turn their own fortune around, right? Like, so in a lot of cases, the idea that this child is being, beat up or whatever, if anything, he would help the child by, I guess, I don't know, making it so that he can turn his own fortune around, however that might be. Like, I don't know, from the bushes, throw a rock at the guy when he's about to swing. I don't know, something like that,
Well, that is interesting, but I guess that's what I'm getting at, right? And you're right. There are plenty of ways to be a hero. You don't have to be a knight in shining armor. You can throw a rock. You could do something secret. You could beat the guy up and then, take the kid somewhere so he can work, learn a trade, which in this time period would be useful. You don't have to throw him, or you could throw him coins and help him that way but that doesn't sound like your character.
No, not necessarily. Like, I wouldn't go out of my way to help a child, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. So, well, that's interesting. But so it sounds like maybe bullies are something they're good targets for exploitation. Ones you could beat up and
doing
take
good by removing for example, like the crime load of a region. It might be considered a heroic act to remove his power, but at the same time, his intentions for doing that are very, very selfish, right?
Okay.
So I've thought of a new concept.
All right. Does this tie into what Dave's talking about?
Perhaps, maybe. It is sort of... So, I'm not going to be Montaigne. I'm probably going to play Avalon, just because I've even thought of a name as well. He did work for the Avalon Navy at one point, from a young age.
Okay.
And then he joined the ATC, thinking that, this is a private organisation, they're going to pay more money and so on and so forth. But when he went there, because he's got morals, and when he joined them, and he was constantly overlooked for promotion because he had morals, and then eventually he left to do his own thing, something along those lines.
He left the ATC.
Yeah.
Well, so does that mean that maybe you encounter Dave's character as part of an attempt to get back at them? Dave was going after some ATC thing because they had money, whereas you had your little motivation.
Can you you keep saying ACT? What does that actually mean?
Sorry, the Atabayan Trading Company.
Okay, so fat merchants. Yeah, that sounds about right.
East India Company, but on steroids.
Yeah, I mean they have the most to take from, so why not?
Exactly.
And they're really fucking corrupt as well, and they do really nasty shit. Like,
yeah,
really
but I think for Dave's character, the point is that they're the bigwigs with all the money, and they won't miss it.
And also, if they're such bad people aren't going to go out of their way to make it right for them. So
right, exactly. Yeah, well, the ATC has its own people, but the authorities won't care.
Yeah,
it's not like the authorities will come and help them out.
It's easier to attack and steal from bad people because they have less sympathy for. So,
exactly. No one's going to come up and help them.
Yeah.
And maybe there's part of your Dave. Maybe that's part of your character's motivation for going after bad people is that they're not sympathetic targets, so they're unlikely to have people who are going to come back at you.
Yeah,
Sure, I mean, like they probably have the most money to exploit from anyway. So
because they're very into slavery as well, aren't they? I believe the
They
ATC, and they take slaves over to the New World, and maybe on one of his crews when he was, maybe he was, he had to take on one of these garbage ships. He had to take a bunch of slaves over, and he just couldn't do it. Maybe he's on the run. Maybe he's on the run from the ATC because he set a load of slaves free.
There you go. That's not bad.
That's quite a hook.
It's a good hook.
Yeah.
And with their backgrounds that where we can deal with that. So Monty, does that give you any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, because one of the reason I would like the connection to Verdacci was that I wanted to be that while I'm Eisen,
Right.
and I've been raised in Eisen. Like I was like handed over to sub and sea captain or something as a baby from
Right.
by Verdacci's ship, like a Fate Witches, and like why they had me, I don't know. Like kind of inclined to play to find out, but
Right.
I mean maybe it's not for that ship. Like maybe I was taken from like an ATC ship or something, or maybe there's some kind of connection in that way.
Well, I actually like that if you're going to be stolen baby, I like you being taken from Verdacci because we have the Fate Witches.
Yeah.
Right. And so a Fate Witch might well see that your destiny would put you in conflict with someone very powerful, and so you need to be removed.
Yeah.
Either for your own safety or, well, let's say for your own safety.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's someone in power or something like that.
Yeah.
It's basically we've got an oracle, potentially.
Yeah.
The Delphic Oracle who...
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking of taking my Eisen middle name from. It'd be like the name of the Fate Witch. So annoyingly, well, I mean, he's proud of it, but like for other people, it's like, why have you got a woman's middle name? But
well, so there's some interesting Eisen backgrounds. Do you have the core book to look at?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So you might look on page 143. So I mean, Hexenwerk is not the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
From Eisen. There are some other backgrounds that might fit the concept a little better. Although I understand that you want to do the sorcery too. So we can be flexible about that. It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not married to the sorceries. There's a couple of other things that could be interesting.
I mean, you being a little more of a warrior might make you more of a threat to people in power.
Yeah.
In Verdacci. And I can see Dave's character being intrigued by the idea of being able to go after Verdacci nobility and take some money from somebody.
Well,
Does
I mean,
Verdacci
here's the thing: it's only a starting point, right? So if for whatever reason in character it happens to make him a hero, then that's great. We don't have to start off as heroes in a lot of cases.
Well, no, but I'm thinking, that it's a great target to go after. Verdacci,
exactly. Yeah.
They're merchants, they're rich, they're also known to be relatively bad people as a nation. They oppress women, and it's not a great place. Let's see. So, Charles, you've been sitting there listening. Are you getting any more ideas for your Sarmatian character?
Yeah, I've been reading up about it and character stuff. So what I think my character did is he started off as much as nobody as someone can be within Sarmatia, us all being noble and equal and all of that.
It's a democracy.
Yeah, went to another country, you can suggest which one, where he studied at the university and learnt about demons from the script that they had there, then came back and then and then tricked a demon to get his stuff.
Well, the only thing is that the demons probably are more local.
Yeah, and
there's actually there's a woods that you would go to.
Yeah.
To hook up with your demon. So it's described in the Second Nations of Théah book. If you have that, just
okay.
It's a whole thing to go through to bind the demon. Just for your background, we don't need to.
Okay, I'll have a look at that.
Keep it in your mind.
Lots of books.
And your demon will constantly be trying to trick you into letting it go.
But I think he tried to read up as much about it as possible from other sources, as well as gaining teachings, like local teachings.
And he thinks he's smart enough to, or at least he thought he was smart enough to contain the demon.
Yeah, exactly.
He may live to regret that choice. What I'd like to do is, if we can start to make these things a little more concrete. I know, Charles, you've been spending some time working on traits and advantages, but we can, if everyone can, make sure we pick a nation, pick some backgrounds. You'll each get 2 backgrounds. And if you decide as we go along that, oh, wait, I want to change that, that's fine. If we at least start to write things down, then that'll give you something to work with. Because it's usually easier to change something you've already written down than to just start with a blank page. So, James, let's start with your nation. I'm just going to go through it, have everybody make sure.
So I'm going to go for Avalon.
All right. So for that, you get either 1 panache or 1 point in resolve, your choice, and then 2 more points in traits.
I think I'm going to go for panache.
Ah, so you'll be a persuasive one. Good for you.
Okay, and I get what, 2 more points, yeah?
2 more points in any traits you like. So, Monty, have you decided your nation?
Yeah, I think I've decided to switch over to Vadachi instead, and then I'm going to take the background for foreign-born Eisen.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so as Vadachian, you get 1 in finesse or 1 in resolve, and then 2 more points in traits. So why don't you go ahead and do that? Dave, have you decided, are you going to go with Castile?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm definitely going to go with Castile.
So you get 1 point in finesse or 1 point in wits.
I'm going to take finesse.
All right, and then 2 more points to spend as you like on your traits. And Charles, you've already picked Sarmatia. And which you took, panache or brawn?
Panache.
Okay. All right, so going back to James for a moment. So you said you had thoughts about your backgrounds.
Right, I was going to go for, but I've changed my mind. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so I was going to go for, in the Pirate Nation, there was Company Escapee.
Yes.
I was going to go, but I don't care too much about the Dueling Academy, Jogo de Dentro, so I'm not going to go for that at first.
That's basically capoeira.
So I think what I'm going to do. So this is what my plan is, and so I'm going to build my character as a sort of either a sea captain or a sea hand, or if anyone else wants to be a sea captain. But yeah, build him as a sea captain. But his first story is going to be to get the quirk from the company escapee, which is, earn a hero point when you subvert the company's plans or sabotage its income stream.
All right, we can work.
That will be my plan, if that makes any sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So you're going to go. So then you want the captain, the sea captain.
That's not going to. So I'm going to. So my first background will be what I did when I was younger.
Okay.
And then my second background will probably be what I do as an adult. So I think. Can you come back to me in a second?
All right.
I'll have a look.
Monty, do you have thoughts about your backgrounds? You get 2.
Yeah, I'm thinking mercenary and explorer.
So now because you were talking about sort of Indiana Jones kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think explorer makes some sense. So you also, so let's see, so explorer and mercenary. Now, do you have the book? So just to tell people, you get, let's see. So explorer gets advantages, quick reflexes.
Mm-hmm.
Quick reflexes means that you'll be able to, you pick a skill and you'll be able to use that skill first before anyone else in a round, which is important because normally villains act first. And you don't have to pick it this minute, but you will pick it before we're done with character creation. That'll be part of the character creation. And then you also get second story work, which lets you break into places, pick locks, do things like that. And let's see. And mercenary, you get hard to kill, which will be nice. I'll have to look up the details, and cast iron stomach, which means you can eat anything without getting sick. Let's see. All right. So Dave, do you have your backgrounds chosen?
Well, since James threw a haymaker at me and I changed it up real quick, I have picked from the Castile backgrounds in the Nations of Théah Volume 1 book, Tarico, which is you signed up to serve to make a better lot for yourself, and that fell through. You earn a hero point when you take up a cause in pursuit of redemption. So I'm not entirely sure how I can work that into my story, but I'll work it out.
That's interesting because that doesn't seem consistent with what you described, actually caring about redemption.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the background story that I have for this character, the father of this character, I don't have a name for him yet, was a former noble, lost his fortune to, bad dealings and whatnot, but he didn't do anything to turn his fortune around. Basically, I can see this as like a way to redeem his name that his father tarnished, I guess, right? So that's how I'm sort of going to work this in a little bit.
So All right, and what was your other background? Did you pick another one?
Well, it was a toss up between criminal and orphan. I'm not entirely sure how I wanted to roll with that one. So
all right, so think about it. You don't have to pick this minute. Orphan.
Well, I mean, the only reason I'm
which is
saying
nice.
this is because brush pass is the one from criminal that I really want. But
That's actually from Orphan.
sorry, that's an orphan, and criminal is having played this game before. Camaraderie is really interesting thing, especially to use in like action sequences and stuff. So
I do want to discourage you from playing too mechanically. Think more about the character concept and then bring in the mechanics. But
the character, both of those things fit the character's backstory. So
okay,
either one. So both of those are good. But yeah, so I'm kind of at a toss up there. So not sure which way.
Okay, and Charles, you picked Zinish and. Which is the soothsayer. And did you decide on another background? Scholar, that's right. So now for university, you're going to have to pick, don't you have to pick a specialty for university? I think so.
What do you guys think? Should I have naval officer or should I have sailor? I know they're pretty much the same thing, but they do sort of...
what are you? Are you a captain? Are you an officer? Or are you a sailor?
Well, I was, like I said, so initially I was part of the Avalon Navy, and then I left to join the ATC, and then while I was doing, because the ATC still sort of like runs it almost like a military, but a private military, doesn't it? And then I left the ATC because I freed a load of slaves, and now I crew my own ship.
I mean, I guess it depends on how disgraced you want to be. I mean, if you're all the way up to being a naval officer and then suddenly you are thrown out of the ATC or you whatnot, that's a much larger fall than if you were just a sailor.
I'd like to do a large fall. Yeah, I'll stick with naval officer.
Yeah, so it's not that your energetic fist is ready to resist a dictatorial war. Gilbert and Sullivan, you guys aren't old enough to. Anyway, sorry, that was HMS Pinafore.
What's that? Is that Hornblower?
I was quoting from HMS Pinafore. My brother was really into Gilbert and Sullivan when I was young, and I worshipped him a bit, so I listened to those things. Anyway, so you decided to go with officer or captain?
I've gone for naval officer as one of my backgrounds, and my second background, I'm going for ship's captain because that's what I am now.
So you started. So you've worked your way up. Nice. Well, so you will actually have access to a ship. So the ship will probably be under your command, unless we have a reason to not do that.
That's what I've gone for.
All right. So we do have a ship, and all right. So let's see. We've got that. So who has not given me all their backgrounds? Dave, I think you had one. You were going between criminal and orphan. Monty, did you?
Yeah, I'll just pick orphan for now. Brush pass is really useful in instances. So.
Well, we do know that, as in real life, orphans are all pickpockets and thieves. So, and Monty, did you pick both your backgrounds?
Yeah, I went mercenary and explorer.
That's right, mercenary and explorer. All right, so we have backgrounds. So those come with. I'm assuming you all have the books that tell you your quirks and your skills and advantages. If not, let me know and I can tell them to you. Your quirk is something that will get you a hero point once a session. It's something I will try and point it out, but feel free to point it out to me when it comes up. For example, mercenary has you get a hero point when you choose to play your trade for a reason that's worth more to you than money. Ooh, so you have to be a little cynical. I can't drawing me back into this again, but you do it for the right reasons instead of just money.
Sorry, which one was this for? Sorry.
Oh, the mercenary. That's for Monty's.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
For the orphan, you get a hero point when you put yourself in danger to ensure someone else doesn't have to be alone. That's nice.
Single.
All right. So we have those all come with backgrounds. You also get 5 points to spend on additional backgrounds if you like, just to flesh yourself out.
Really? You get 5 points for additional backgrounds, or do you mean advantages?
Advantages, excuse me, not backgrounds. Thank you. I misspoke.
Holy shit. Well, I'll take a couple more backgrounds. Thanks.
No. Advantages. 5 points on advantages. I was looking at the wrong thing here. And for skills, well, maybe we should do skills first. Think about your advantages. Skills, you have a list of generic skills. You get 1 point in the skill for, there were several skills listed with each background. If there were any overlap, you just get an extra point in that skill. And now you have 10 points to spend on more skills. You are limited to rank 3 at the beginning. You'll be able to go up higher than that after this, but for starting, no skills should be more than rank 3. So let's see. So starting with James, do you know what skills you're going to get?
I get them all, don't I? I get 1 point in everything.
Nope. No. Now, so one thing to think about. So you get 10 points to spend on skills. You've gotten some points from your advantages, from your backgrounds.
Don't you get run ranking all skills to do with your background?
With your background, yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm at that point. I'm still just doing that. So.
Okay. So do that. All right. So then we'll come back to you. So Monty, you already picked your or Charles, did you raise your hand?
Oh, I've done all my. I've been going through the book. And
Oh, great. Well, let's hear what you did for skills.
So skills. I got 2 in aim because I'm from the Eastern lot and we prefer to use pistols over swords just because we like to differentiate ourselves in that way.
So let's talk about pistols just for a moment. The pistols are extremely powerful in the game, but they have a big disadvantage, which is that they take a while to reload because they're black powder weapons. We'll talk about the mechanics of that when we get there. They do a lot of damage, but you may want to brace a pistol so that you have at least 2, because once you shoot one, it's going to take you a while to reload it.
I'm thinking 1 shot and then switch to a saber.
Okay, so you also have weaponry?
Yes, that comes with one of my things. Weaponry comes with it, but...
So what else did you take?
So anyway, 2 in aim, 1 athletics. I've got 3 in convince, 1 empathy, 1 hide, 1 notice, 3 perform, 1 sailing, 3 scholarship, 3 tempt, and 1 weaponry.
Well, that's it. So perform. So what do you think of as your art form? Do you sing? Do you dance? What do you do? Do you play an instrument?
Honestly, I think of like for this character, performing is going to be about keeping people's attention. It's going to be, because he's a very knowledgeable character, like performing will be able to tell things in an interesting way, which makes people that gets people's attention. That's what he's about. It's not.
Oh, okay. So you will wax
dancing.
You will wax thoughtful on thoughtful subjects and.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Like be able to talk about things in a way that is very obviously passionate. In an endearing way.
Right. Okay. So I can see that character. Nice. So let's see. Monty, what have you picked for your skills?
So I'm still in the process of picking the individual skills.
Any questions or thoughts?
No. I think I'm good actually. It's I'm sort of pivoting more towards this exploit Indiana Jonesy type, sort of like quite willing to fight his way through the lands to sort of find like the answer to the question he's trying to answer.
And
nice.
Monty, I was thinking maybe the way mine and your character know each other is because one of the things I was going to go with knowledge as my demon, and so one of the things that I can pick is I can know where an item is.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Like that'd be useful to a pirate, an explorer, a mercenary. It's like, it's just something that makes my character useful to everyone.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, that sort of easy thing for me to be connected to virtually anyone is that, I'm exploring for whatever reason, and, we come across each other, team up for whatever reason, like, sort of a marriage of convenience in various cases. Maybe we've become friends as a result of that. Who knows? Yeah,
maybe there was an artifact you were both searching for, or you were searching for Monty, and Charles was able to help you find it.
Yeah.
With the help of his demon. So, does Monty know about your demon?
It's not going to be a secret. So,
okay.
I've already I've looked at the advantages you can take, and against someone's advice, I think I'm actually going to take reputation with the keyword possessed. Like, I'm not possessed. That's just my reputation.
Yeah.
So now that's interesting. So how will that, so the idea of reputation mechanically is that it affects social interactions. So how do you see that affecting how people deal with you?
I think people would be slightly more cautious, intimidated, maybe less likely to try to get on my bad side, take their time trying to work out if I'm possessed at the time or anything, even though I'm not, it's just, I want it to be like...
It's a little more on the intimidating side.
Perhaps, yeah. Even though my character is going to be quite charismatic, I still, there's going to be times where he's used some of his stuff and it's, kind of had an outward show that has made people think that he's possessed. And
okay. So you're not hiding the fact that you consort with a demon.
Mm-mm.
Excellent.
In fact, my character is more likely to go, I'm not possessed. I have a pact with this demon. I am not possessed. I'm very much myself.
But no one outside of Sarmatia might believe you.
Exactly.
In Sarmatia, they understand, but
yeah.
Maybe not.
So maybe the reputation would be a lot easier outside of Sarmatia to utilize. Yeah. basically.
Interesting. So, Monty, what does your character think about this?
Hey, if it works, it works. You know, it's. I mean, I'm not necessarily like, hey, you know, demons.
No, he's just this guy.
I've been raised in eyes, and it's like, you know, I'm not really too hot on like creatures, but you know, hey, as long as you don't do any like weird shit and you're useful, like, sure, you know.
So, what's the most frightening thing you've seen Charles do?
Let's see. What would
the
Charles...
other one I was going to take? So other than find an item, I was going to take the one that lets me mess with someone's memory. So I can just like go up to someone, you know, have a talk with them, do the thing, leave, and then they've got no idea that I was even there.
Have you ever used that on Monty's character?
Yeah. I don't. He's never done anything weird. At least I don't remember anything
Right.
weird.
You don't know that he's never done anything, but
No, I think maybe you saw that happen, me do that without, and you haven't talked to me about it. You know. The main thing my character would advertise for himself is that he can find any item, because that's cool. That's not scary.
Well, so maybe, Monty, maybe your character is a little worried that this has been done to you without, and
that's probably in the back of my mind. Is like, I don't really 100% trust this guy. It's like, sure, like as far as I can remember, everything's been good. But when wasn't it good? And when did he wipe that? It's like, yeah.
And every now and then you find something in your pockets that you just don't remember picking up, and
yeah,
it makes you wonder.
Every time I'm just a little bit absent-minded, I'm like...
Have you seen my glasses anywhere? I swear Oh, right.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Or better yet, you find the glasses on your head, and I don't remember wearing glasses.
Yeah.
All right, so Dave, what are you doing with your skills?
Let's see here. I got quite a bit from my backgrounds, but I got 1 aim, 2 athletics, 1 brawl, 1 empathy, 3 hide, 1 intimidate, 3 notice, 2 tempt, 3 theft, 1 warfare, and 3 weaponry.
Okay, wow. So you are an action man.
Yeah. So the background that I picked Orphan and Tarico, and Tarico had just a buttload of skills in terms of Tercio, whatever.
Oh, wait, Tercio with a lisp.
Mm-hmm. And I was also thinking about taking some sort of secret society as well, potentially, but
Excellent.
I don't know. That's only if you can fit it in, though. So
well, I'm open to it. Let's see how that evolves with the story. I mean, we've got Monty and Charles working together. Monty, you might think about the Explorer Society, which is a secret society based on exploration and discovery.
Yeah.
And that does provide some resources. With your Explorer background, I think that might...
Yeah, that sounds sensible, yeah.
And you'll have to decide whether you tell them about Charles's demon powers or not. That might be a way to get favor, actually, if you exploit his powers for their benefit. Without his knowing about it, you might be able to get some extra favor with this.
Yeah, it just makes me look really competent.
Exactly. How did you find that? Oh. All right. So, James, how are we coming along?
Okay, so I've done all my background advantages.
Okay.
And I've done all the skill buying. I haven't bought any more backgrounds. I got an additional 1 point background because I had sea legs twice.
Advantage, right? Well, so you get... Okay.
The second sea leg I changed for direction sense.
I think that's appropriate. I have no problem with that.
It was either that or timekeeping. So time sense. So it was
either one. I think is appropriate.
So for skill wise though, well, advantages I've got barterer, leadership, married to the sea, perfect balance, sea legs, and direction sense. Skill wise, which are pretty much done: aim of 2, athletics of 2, convince of 2, empathy of 2, intimidate of 2, notice of 2. Sailing of 3, tempt of 1, warfare of 2, weaponry 2.
Okay. Yeah, and the only thing to think about is this game does tend to favor specialization rather than breadth. The danger of having a lot of things lower, every time you use a skill with a trait, that sets how many dice you're going to get to roll. Mm-hmm. So if you have a lot of 1s and 2s, that will just reduce the number of dice you get to roll. So if you have some specialization, so how many skills at level 3 do you have?
Took sailing at 3.
Well, yeah, which is, I think, a good choice. You might think about dropping one of your 2s to a 1 and then, trading that in for 1 more specialized skill.
It's also worth pointing out that when you roll skills as well, that at 3 ranks you can re-roll a single die.
Mm-hmm.
4 ranks you have the ability to earn 2 raises by creating sets of 15 rather than 10.
But also,
so anything over 2 is good.
But also, like raising a level 1 a level 1 skill to level 2 skill will only be 2 steps. So
that's true. Yeah, I mean, just I guess part of it is thinking about your character.
Mm-hmm.
Is he really a jack of all trades, which is fine. That's certainly a valid choice. But also mechanically in this game, it does tend to favor specialization a little bit. I think definitely there's a risk because if you're only rolling 3 dice, you're going to end up going last.
All right, well, I'm going to drop my tempt down then. I'll get rid of tempt, which I bought completely.
There's weaponry, there's aim or whatever.
Oh, you want a combat-y skill then, yeah? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, it seems like we've got 1 duelist. It seems like you're going to be at C. Your character might be.
What does warfare do?
It's just the act of fighting or whatever. But you can also, here's the thing about warfare is like knowledge of combat. Like,
it's a little larger scale. Planning battles might be good for C battles. It's more strategy and tactics rather than the actual engagement with one other opponent. Weaponry is you're fighting with a weapon against one opponent, or maybe multiple, but you're actually doing the fighting. Brawl, you're doing it with your fists.
All right.
Aim,
okay, this is what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to get rid of tempt and get 3 in warfare, and I'm going to drop athletics down to 1 and get 3 in weaponry.
Excellent.
So I've got 3 skills in 3. 3 skills at 3, which is weaponry, warfare, and sailing.
I think you'll be happier with that just in the long run. And also, it makes your character a little more. You are a naval captain who has fought sea battles, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so Dave, you were thinking about secret societies. Have you thought about, there's Los Vagabundos, but they're a little more, Robin Hood-y than I think you want it to be. They're Castilian.
This character's kind of falling a little bit more into that. Like, I'm not sure. Like, there was an interesting one in here about, I was just reading him. That's what I was doing just now.
Okay.
The Inquestilo Aquila?
Was that in the Nations book?
Yeah. It's a intelligence network, basically. So more spy-y than anything else. And it's not necessarily like you could have it that it's more of I'm more selling information to them more than anything. So that could be
you're working in favor of the Inquisition.
They pay for it, so there's actually some favor in here as well. So it's super weird how they describe it though, but they have information here like if you gain. No, that's not right. That's not the Inquisition though, is it?
Yeah, the Inquisition Aquila works for the Inquisition. They are basically the spy arm, the intelligence arm of the Inquisition.
Yeah, because the way that they describe it
of the Inquisition.
Yeah, the way they describe it here is like if you gather information on the Inquisition movements, you gain favor with them. So I was thinking that it was like anti-Inquisition.
No, there actually is an anti-Inquisition society, which is, Los Vagabundos might count. Wait, is there? Oh, wait, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's the Dark Inquisition.
The Invisible College wants to topple the Inquisition and restore the church.
So actually, I mixed this up. I apologize. You're right. So actually, this would be working against the Inquisition. You'd be working for the Dark Inquisition, which is so they're actually in favor. They're trying to purify the Vatican Church. Get rid of the corrupt elements.
Yeah, that doesn't. I'm not really religiously prone, so maybe that doesn't fit too well. Like a lot of these are sort of like you kind of just sort of weirdly fit into them sometimes. So.
Right. I mean, the thing about Castile is that a lot of it is defined by the Inquisition, and which is relatively recent. And because the church is essentially holding the leaders of Castile hostage. Mm-hmm. So that is a big part of the country.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe I can have that later on once we get into the little bit more of the law stuff. But I think what I might do is just take a duelist style for now and just do that 5 points. So
I'm fine with you realizing later that he's actually a member of this group. It's appropriate. I'm fine with that. If as we play through and you realize details that you hadn't realized now, that's fine. We can add them. Mm-hmm. And as long as it serves the story, it's fine with me. Now, Charles, you could think about the Invisible College. I don't know how they would feel about you with the with Sandaris.
Isn't there one that deals with going after dangerous monsters?
Well, I mean, there's the Kreuzritter, but that's really Eisen. There's Lachute Skada, which is the but they're certainly about magic, but I don't know if they're about monsters as much. I mean, I guess it depends on, what's your purpose? You're a scholar, which might make you inclined to go with the Invisible College, which is really about knowledge and preservation of knowledge.
But I'm a scholar for my own power.
Right. And maybe this is one of those things that we think about. And if it comes up, you make a decision later.
Can I not have the same as Ivan?
I'm sorry, the same as...
Sorry, who has the one about the monsters? I don't know the name of it yet.
I don't think anyone's taken it.
No.
Monty is going to be part of the Explorer Society.
Okay, yeah. Like if I was part of a society, it would be the one that takes down big scary monsters. Just because.
Well, that's Der Kreuzritter.
If I'm not powerful enough to do that, then I need to work harder. Like testing myself. Just a way to test.
Well, and that may be an interesting story because so I'm just looking in the lore. There's not much of a presence in the Sarmatian Commonwealth. So maybe part of your travels in Eisen, you started encountering monsters, and again, this is how you and Monty's character might have crossed paths.
Yeah.
Reinhard.
Well,
Yeah.
don't forget, I probably got in contact with that secret society when I was doing research into what has been known and about monsters and stuff, and just trying to prepare myself, because facing one of these creatures in that forest is going to be a terrifying ordeal that maybe I wasn't feeling prepared for. Trying to prepare myself, like maybe get a temporary a ward, something to help me ward myself, from another country and stuff, and then prepare myself as I can to go and face this terrifying thing, so I don't just get ripped apart.
All right, well, and we can flesh this out.
And so while looking into that, I probably came across the secret society about the monsters and stuff, because these demons, when not tied to someone, are still quite dangerous. Because they're more wild, I guess.
Right. No, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
So maybe you're either a member or a consultant with the Kreuzritter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's see. So who have we not? Does anyone have details left to flesh out before we get to Arcana?
I've done all my skills now. Yeah, got all my backgrounds. It's just need to do stories and stuff now, I think.
I'll be right back. One sec, guys. Sorry.
Okay. So let's see. And James, you've done everything.
Society?
I'm sorry, Charles?
What page number is the secret society?
So in the core rule book,
164
or 261 actually,
or 261.
In the core book.
Yes, yeah, the more fleshed out versions is the
Right.
261.
Well, so why don't we go to doing Arcana, which you will not get to choose because you don't get to choose your fate. So I have the Arcana deck up on Roll20, and I'm just going to pick. So the first card I pick will be your virtue, and the second one will be your hubris, and I'll just deal it to your character.
Well, I'm not there yet though. I'm still trying to pick a. Is there one about friends with the Jennies? Is there one? Is there an advantage for that?
Oh,
I'm sure I've seen it before.
Well, there is actually there's a Jenny background. Streetwise might count because Streetwise will get you connections with the underground. If there's a specific thing you're thinking of, it could just be a connection. How are you thinking to make this work? I mean, what is it that you want to get out of this connection to the Jennies?
Just that I get a lot of information from them, that I'm sort of like, oh, is it a secret? It's not a secret society, is it? It's not.
No. Oh, I mean, you could have a connection. There's a 2-point advantage connection.
Yeah, I saw that. It's a toss-up between, so I'm either going to go for, so I've gone for Disarming Smile.
Aw.
So the other option I was going to go for, which is a 3-point advantage, I think, Camaraderie. So when you spend a hero point to aid an ally, they gain 4 dice instead of the 3.
I mean, mechanically, camaraderie is very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And certainly it makes sense for a ship captain.
We definitely saw the effects of that in the last game that we played together. I think, James, that one was especially useful. Yeah. And the other one that you might want to consider taking, James, is there's the one where you pay something in advance, and then no one has to do any raises if that's what you wanted to do, which is also a fairly useful skill. Hang on, I'll see if I can find it for you. And I don't think it costs very much either.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what you're.
While you're looking for that, is the Arcana using a deck of cards? Is that like an alternative rule to picking yourself?
Well, so if you really have an Arcana committed, okay, but really normally it's a choice of the storyteller. I kind of like doing the Arcana randomly just because it adds, well, that little bit of random seed into your character that may inspire you to go in certain directions that you wouldn't have thought of on your. But if you're like, no, I want this Arcana, then I'm open to it. I'm not going to force. I don't want to force anything down anyone's throat. But normally I do it randomly.
Yeah.
What?
I think it's called Team Player.
Oh no, team player allows you to generate. You can create an advantage. You spend a hero point, and you can create an advantage, and then someone else can activate that advantage for free without spending any raises.
I thought there was another one in here that did something else like that.
There is another one like that, which is opportunist, but then you get the opportunity for yourself.
There's a lot of big 5 cost ones.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for camaraderie. Yeah, because it makes sense being a sort of a captain, and being able to like inspire people to like, the crew or people, just to like, I don't know. Yeah, it just makes in my head it makes sense to be able to inspire people to do greater goods. I mean, it's a shame I'm not Montaigne because that would have only cost me 2 points. But there we go.
That's life.
That is life. Right, I've done my advantages and I've done my skills, and yeah, the only thing I've got left now is the Arcana and whatever else that's left.
All right. Well, so what I'd like to do, and see if you're okay with this, Charles, is I'll go ahead and we'll do it randomly, and if the randomness works for you, great. If you go, well, no, I'd really rather have this other one, that's okay.
It does also
choice gives you something inspiring.
It does also mean that if you do get an Arcana you don't want, you can then use a story to like change that Arcana.
True. That's also true. But I'm hoping that it will suggest things. So I'm going to go ahead and deal.
Don't forget to hit shuffle. Don't forget to hit shuffle though before we start drawing.
All right, shuffle. I shuffled.
But who wants to go first? So on the Charles, you're very eager to like draw your decks.
Go ahead, Charles.
This is your virtue?
Hubris. Yeah.
The witch.
Or virtue, rather.
Let's
go with the virtue. So let's see. So the witch, your virtue is you are intuitive. You activate your virtue to ask the GM one yes or no question about an NPC. And I have to answer honestly and should be generous. So I would explain fully. That's actually a very good virtue to have.
Ties in quite well with your, I can find anything. I can also know anything about anyone.
Right. Yeah. But you can only do that once a session, and it costs you a hero point.
Does it cost you a hero point to activate your virtue?
Always costs you a hero point to activate your virtue. Yep, you get a hero point for your hubris, and activating your virtue costs you a hero point.
All right. Might as well do hubris now at the same time, then.
Yeah, all right. So Charles, go ahead and pick your hubris.
Shouldn't the card be put back in and we?
I don't like to actually. That way, I mean, we can, but I usually do it without replacement.
Okay, that's fine. The lover. Oh God.
Let's see. So the lover is your hubris. Where's it? There we go. Star-crossed. You receive a hero point when your hero becomes enamored with someone she really shouldn't.
Wow, that's like a hero point generator right there. Good stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but again, you can only use that once a session.
I don't like it because the last character I played was very much like this.
With all right.
Anyone that was symmetrical.
Well, go ahead and pick another one then.
Yeah, it's just too similar to my last character.
That's fine. Pick a different card, but we won't recall it, so that way you're guaranteed to pick something different. What is that? The Emperor.
Too small.
There we go. The Emperor. So let's see. So the Emperor, hot-headed. So you receive a hero point when your hero flies off the handle and loses his temper, causing trouble. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I can deal with that.
All right. All right, so now I will give people a choice before we do the next person. Should we leave these out so that we're only picking new ones, or do we want to recall them and so we may have the possibility of duplicates? I'll give you all the choice.
Yeah, but you may draw it for different things. So you may pull like the Emperor out as your virtue and
That's
the
true.
Witch out as your
Absolutely true.
hubris.
Which are different things.
And if you don't like having the same as someone else, you can always just say, actually, I don't really want to have the same as them.
You could do that.
I don't know. We could all just be really angry people on the sea. I don't know. That sounds pretty good.
All right. So we'll recall. Okay, so who's next?
And hit shuffle. Just make sure you shuffle the deck.
It's
All
what
right.
you enjoy in the end, isn't it?
It really is.
Cool. I'll go next. Is it all shuffled?
They're all shuffled.
Cool. So I'll draw 2 cards then, and then I'll get hubris
Okay.
and virtue. So this can be virtue, I guess, first, and then that can be.
Okay. So this is your virtue, which is the tower, and your hubris is the thrones. Let's see. So for the tower, your virtue is that you're humble. Activate your virtue to gain 2 hero points instead of 1 when you activate your hubris or trigger a quirk.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds all.
Work. Oh, right. From your backgrounds, yes.
And I've got the thrones up here already. I've got it on the screen for the hubris. Stubborn. You receive a hero point when your hero is stubborn and refuses to change her mind in the face of evidence.
Wow, humble and stubborn.
Nice.
Interesting. Interesting
Oxymoron.
combination.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah, I'm down with that.
All right, James. You have a big mouth. You can go next.
Alright, so this is going to be my virtue,
Okay.
the will, and this is going to be my hubris. The magician,
All right.
It's good for a captain of a ship.
the will,
I don't know what it does, but it's
fortunate. So this is my the will for virtue is fortunate. Activate your virtue to delay an opportunity or consequences by 1 action.
That's actually really good.
That is
Yeah,
pretty
that's
good.
actually really helpful.
And then the magician.
That is incredibly helpful, actually. Yeah.
The magician, hubris, ambitious. You receive a hero point when you chase after power, and the deal you're after is dangerous or causes trouble.
Interesting. Very interesting. I think this is working out. All right, Dave. Let's see. You're up.
All right, so this will be my hubris. Oh, look at that.
All right, so your hubris is the wheel. Interesting. So for the hubris, I just had that. I was
Yeah.
just looking.
What is
Same
that?
as me.
I can't
Same as
see
me.
it.
Fortunate.
No.
Can you
He took
zoom
that
in?
as his hubris.
Oh, that's the
The
beggar.
wheel is his hubris. It's unfortunate.
Oh,
You
okay.
receive 2 hero points when you choose to fail an important risk before rolling.
2 hero points.
Yep, but
Well,
you
I
do
mean-
choose to fail.
That's interesting. What's the other one?
So what
Is
is
that
it?
the devil? I can't zoom in.
The beggar.
The beggar.
So you are
Okay,
insightful.
so
Activate your virtue
Thank
to
you.
discover a brute squad's type or to know a villain's rank and advantages.
it's an interesting one. I'm not sure on the unfortunate one, but it kind of like fits well with the character a little bit. But what is it? Can you define what you would define as important?
In terms of
Like it says an important risk.
an important risk. Well, I think it's a risk where the thing is
Because
that
that's
risk is-
incredibly subjective, right? Like if I say I want to fail this to get 2 hero points, and then you as a GM can say I don't believe it's important enough.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the
Yeah.
truth. I actually don't have people roll for things that aren't important because I just find that it bogs the game down. It's not.
Well, I
really-
mean, by that definition, like
I'm going to
literally
make that word
everything that you
important.
do in this game is important then, right? You know what I mean? Like, so any time that you do a risk, it's important because it's
Well,
by
so
definition
A
of
risk by definition means that there's a consequence to failing. Or, well, you can't fail in this game so much as there's a consequence to not having enough raises to do what you need to do, right? So the
Right.
basic philosophy of the game is that unlike most other RPGs, in a typical RPG like D&D, you roll and there's a risk of failure. And the problem that John Wick saw with this, something that he personally didn't like, is that he rolls terribly. So he would find himself round after round, oh, I go to do a thing, I roll, I fail. Now I have nothing to do, everybody else goes. Now it comes back to my turn. Now I roll, I fail. Now I have nothing to do. So
well,
here,
in that case,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would be Yeah, I would be more interested in having the beggar as a hubris, to be honest with you.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we take the beggar as your hubris, and then you can redraw your virtue.
Okay.
Because otherwise, you have the same virtue as someone else.
Sure.
All right.
Lover? What's that? I can't tell.
The reunion.
The lovers is Pat. Is that? What did you do?
What is that? I can't see it. So.
Yeah. Let me. That's reunion. Yep, reunion, which is new. I think that's actually. So activate your virtue and choose another hero in the same scene to pool your raises for the round, spending raises to take actions from the shared pool. So that's actually really nice.
Okay. Well, I mean, the beggar envious is you receive a hero point when your hero covets something and it does something unwise to get it, which is more in line, which is basically the character in a way.
Right. And reunion lets you work with somebody else, basically.
Or steal all their raises because you've got a shit pool, which is also in keeping with your character.
Yeah, take advantage of what they can do.
Yeah.
Dave was about to tell us what his duelist style was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I picked another hard name to say, the Bocker style. Bolsha style. It was a fighting style originally forged in the streets of Monty. It isn't considered a gentlemanly school. However, some duelists are more concerned with the results than with the impression they make on their peers. This style is designed for them in mind. Students wield a long knife in each hand and use the two together in a series of attacks designed to confuse and disorient opponents.
Oh, nice.
So, as a bonus, outside of the standard styles and stuff, I get the when wielding a dagger or knife in one hand with nothing in the other, or a dagger or knife in each hand, you gain an ability called the Boscher Step. Now, the Boscher Step allows you to perform 2 maneuvers back to back, spending raises as you normally would for each of them, and before your opponents can react. All the other rules for maneuvers still apply. You cannot perform the same maneuver twice in a row, for example. You can only use it once per round. So basically it means that I can do like a parry and attack in the same round or something like that.
Dueling is quite powerful, but you're spending a lot of points on it, so it should be.
A lot of raises, yeah. So, it kind of builds into the character a little bit because with this character in particular, and this is basically what I do with these sorts of games. I sort of like find loops to run down. I know it's kind of dumb, but that's how I go. So Fencer, I gain a bonus die when you make a weapon where you risk using a rapier, dagger, or cutlass in one hand. And on top of that...
Did you take Whirlwind of Steel?
Yeah, no, that comes with the background as well.
Right.
A hero must have the Fencer ability in order to purchase this advantage. When you make a weapon where you risk using rapier, or dagger, cutlass, or a similar weapon in one hand, you can choose not to roll dice at the beginning of the round. If you do, you reduce the strength of all brute squads in the scene to half, rounding down.
Right, so it's sort of like that scene in The Princess Bride where
you just spin to win.
It just takes out 4 guys with very rapid moves.
Mm-hmm.
The disadvantage, of course, is that you won't roll dice, which means you can't respond to anything that round.
Mm-hmm.
But again, trade-offs, which is, I think that's one of the big philosophies of this game is that you have choices to make, because you can't, every action, every raise that you spend, and we'll, when we get to a sequence, we'll talk more about raises for those of you who haven't played before. Each raise you spend is to do an action, and the action will succeed. There's no chance of it failing. The thing is that you won't, assuming I structure things right, you won't have enough raises to do everything you want to do. So you have to make choices about what you do. But you don't have to worry about rolling and failing.
And there's no movement or anything like that. It's very fluid and narrative and...
Exactly.
Kind of cool. Yeah, like basically you roll up to 10 and then everyone gets raises. So even if you're like super, super skilled in something, you might not even make it to 10, in a lot of cases. So
that's unusual, but it happens.
Yeah, it happens. There are certain things you can do to like make your character better. Like, for example, you could take, there's one skill where you can be like skilled at something and you choose one dice before you roll, and you put that aside, and that becomes a 10 automatically.
Right.
Some other things like that make it so that you can do things. And if you have a 3 in a skill that you did roll, you can re-roll the lowest dice, for example, and have another chance at getting something higher. So,
Yep. And one thing that happens is that you'll have dice left over, which I will buy. So you'll get hero points that way. So you'll get plenty of hero points.
How often are you supposed to buy dice anyway? Because that seems to be like, how often do you buy dice?
I usually do it every time because it depends on how many hero points people have, to be honest, just as a GM. If people need the hero points, I will go ahead and buy them because, that way I get danger points that I can spend, which lets my villains do more things. And then I want to make sure people have hero points to do things with because, frankly, that's where a lot of the special stuff comes from. That's how you...
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we can say no to you buying our points anyway, right?
No, that's not optional. Buying dice, no. Hubrises or quirks, you can say no. So you won't get the hero point, but you don't have to act in accordance with it. So like a hubris, I can suggest that you act in accordance with the hubris, and in exchange, I'll give you a hero point, and you can say no. But the buying dice is not optional. That actually, no, I can do that, and you don't get to say no.
Okay.
But I don't know why you'd say no to a hero point anyway. You've already rolled. So it's not, the only time you can say no is if I say, if you do this thing, if you act this way, I'll give you a hero point. You don't have to do that. That's always your choice.
Hero points don't carry over to the next one.
Not normally. If we break right in the middle of something, then I'll let people carry them over. So if we're in the middle of a battle or a sequence, or for some reason we had to stop, then I'll let you carry them over. But normally they restart each session. But my goal is not to screw players over.
One each session.
Pardon?
Doesn't the book say you start with one each session?
That's right. Unless you have
more than one.
Well, there is an advantage that lets you start with 2.
Yeah, virtuous. Yeah,
virtuous. That's the one.
I've got
most of the time you'll start with 1, and I'll start with 4 danger points. I get 1 for each party member.
So I've got something to discuss with everyone because it's the first deal. I've got 2 deals, 1 per sorcery. I get 2 minor favors per deal, and so 1 is knowledge. I've already gone over what I want with that, but the other ones are kind of depend. One of them, for example, is C, which I like, but it really depends on the kind of story that we're telling.
Right.
If certain things will come up. For example, let me find it. Calm raging waters to make them navigable or swimmable, or cause waters to rage and froth. If we're on a boat for a lot of the campaign, or there's a lot of sea stuff, and making it so that can be really useful.
Right.
That seems really, really strong if it just means in the vicinity, how far is that?
It's a minor favor, so I would think it's right in the vicinity of the ship or the person. It's not going to go for miles.
No, yeah. But if there's another ship nearby and we didn't want them to get away, making the waters rough is going to make it harder for them to get away. It's going to make it harder for us if we want to go anywhere as well.
That's right.
Down, but
and remember that the demon is going to do things literally. So just if you ask for something and you get it, it may not be exactly what you wanted. Usually with the minor favors, because they're smaller, that won't be a problem. But anything beyond that, be careful what you ask for.
So yeah, with the minor favors, there tends to be smaller stuff which just go by the word of it. With the major favors, it tends to be you tend to be protected from them because the demon's given you this great task. It makes sense.
Right, but you will get, for using major favors, you will get a point of corruption.
Really?
Yes, that's automatic.
I mean, yeah, the same thing happens with the other sorceries as well. In a lot of cases, every time you use a sorcery, you get corrupted in some ways. So.
Right. Yeah, but you're making a deal with the demon. So when you ask for a big favor, you will get a point of corruption.
So anyway, C appeals, but I don't know how much time we're going to be doing ship to ship stuff, which is where it really comes in.
Right. Well, we have one character who is ship-based, so we should certainly do some ship stuff. I would suggest that if you take C, that gives us a hook to get you onto the ship.
Well, I've already got find an item that's anywhere in the world and know where it is.
Right.
And that's a hook.
Right, that's also true. Well, that hooks you up to
A pirate that
to
wants
Reinhard.
anyone.
We still have to get you hooked up to Edward Curry and Dave. You haven't picked a name yet. You still have Henley's character.
Actually,
okay.
Actually, because I get 2 minor favors. Know the exact location of any ship within 10 nautical miles of your current location. That could enable another one, because if we're going pirating and stuff, finding out the location of a ship, or if we're heroes and we're going anti-pirating, then we can just like locate a ship and just like go off and deal with whoever.
Well, yeah. Now remember here that pirates are generally, especially if they're members of Brotherhood of the Coast.
Yeah.
While they do take out they will capture other ships. They don't murder people generally. They're more like the Dread Pirate Roberts than really horrible pirates.
I mean, Storm sounds like it would be pretty applicable as well, both at sea and since
Either one.
storms can happen at land. So
The Storm might give you a little more ability to do things on land and sea.
Yeah, maybe I go Storm, and then depending on the direction the campaign goes, when I've got 2 more points, is it, for sorcery? I think I
Whatever.
can another deal.
How many points is sorcery? Remind me.
2, I think it's 2.
Sorcerer would be like, I think it's less than the.
Yeah, it's 2 points.
Oh. But if you got it from your background, you should have 2 of them.
Yeah, he has 2 of them. He's already taken knowledge, which is one of the deals. So he's trying to figure out what he wants for the second deal.
Which is why I'm talking to you guys, because he felt nice. But yeah, you're right. I'll go with Storm. And then if a lot of the campaign goes on in waters and stuff, and it looks like we're going to be doing a lot of stuff on waters, then it shouldn't take too long to get another 2 points.
No, that's one session pretty much.
Yeah.
That's not that. Depending on.
I thought,
1 or 2 sessions.
Is it? I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure I recall that the more spells, sorceries you have, the cost of it goes up. Am I remembering that right?
I don't think so, but we can check it when we get there.
Yeah, I don't mind if it costs more. It's fine. We'll see.
I'm trying to remember if that was the case or not. So
I think it also depends on the sorcery.
Well, I'm not buying a 3rd currently, so it doesn't matter right now. We can look it up later.
Yeah, we'll burn that bridge when we come to it.
Off stream, we can all go, that's how I.
Yep.
yeah.
So the big thing I want to do is get all of you connected. So we have 2 of you connected, and maybe we can flesh that out. But we need to get. I'd like to get the 4 of you linked in somehow. And I do have a question. Did everybody take sailing?
nope.
Who does not have sailing?
That would be me.
I took 1 in it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I intentionally didn't take it though. So
So your thought is, so what's your role going to be on a ship? Just sort of the mercenary, or the person leading the charge, or just hanging back, or cabin boy, and why are you on a ship?
cabin boy. Well, that's what we're deciding now, right?
Yes.
I think it would be good to have someone on the ship for when we're boarding or being boarded.
Absolutely.
Someone that can handle themselves and handle a group of people.
Now, Reinhard is a mercenary, so he's already experienced in that.
Yeah. I mean, we can point a pistol and slash a saber, but having an advantage in a fight is huge, and you could be that for us.
Well, Juan Diego is he's a duelist, so certainly he would be quite helpful with boarding parties, and probably nobody's going to tell me.
I think the one thing that I have that none of you have is hide and theft and that sort of stuff, right? I don't know if you guys take any points in stealth or anything like that.
No, no, I'm a very blunt tool. So.
Yeah. So, whereas you're the mace, I am the dagger, right? So it's polar opposites of the same thing. So I'm sure I'll find a place. I don't necessarily have to at this point decide that place is a permanent one. I don't see my character having any experience on the ocean or on a boat.
Okay.
But maybe during the course of this adventure, we find him a place.
Okay, that sounds good. So, so which character do you think he would know?
I guess, for example, James's character, we mentioned it before. So potentially, he needs someone to help unravel this. What is it called? The ACT or something?
ATC. Out-of-band trading.
So potentially, I'm a mercenary that he hired to some degree. I don't necessarily have to be starting out as a character with any sort of like my desires at the start of the game could be just very selfish, And I like the idea of having the character grow to be something more than just a person wanting money. So
yeah, it's sort of the camaraderie we develop can tie you in.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So,
well, you were looking for redemption, right? That's your quirk.
Yeah. So specifically, maybe. Let's see. The quirk that I have here for
Théah.
You signed up to serve to make a better lot for yourself. Though that fell through, you have not given up hope. So potentially, I don't know, maybe there was some sort of revolution or something. I don't know, like drawing off the higher class or something. I don't know. The idea that my character lost his, the family name per se, I think would probably be a good start. And maybe even we can have the slavery of his, I don't know, something to do with the ATC might work in here. I don't know. Maybe his father, or I don't know how we want to work it in there. So,
well, how about your sister was taken into slavery? That's always good. Brother?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't really. I at this point, I can have as many siblings as you need to make a story interesting. So.
Well, you're Castilian, so you must have a big family.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, so let's just say sibling for now, and figure out who it is as we go. Oh, well, so maybe Edward was on the ship that had your sister on it, or your brother or cousin or whatever, and so it's a link.
Why would he seek me out though for that? Like, I like the idea that I have a vendetta against him. It doesn't necessarily have to be.
Here's the interesting thing, though, is that Théahs are not commonly sold into slavery. They're unusual, so they kind of stand out. Most of the slaves that the Out-of-Band Trading Company takes are from Ifri. So they're very dark-skinned, which means that any relative of yours would probably stand out.
Okay.
And it's certainly, specifically Castilian, there would not be more than one Castilian slave probably on a ship. So the fact that, assuming you knew that your sibling was taken into slavery, it wouldn't be that big of a stretch for him to say, "Oh, I had a Castilian slave on my ship."
How long ago are we talking, though? How long? What sort of time frame are we thinking about for this?
Well, what do you think? It's your story.
Because I've got a suggestion if you want to hear it.
Sure, James. Anything.
So maybe it was a few years ago. Maybe I wasn't as high ranked as I was, so I didn't really have any control over it. All that I know that was completely underhand. So it was done. So the ATC, basically, she was a passenger. Does that make any sense?
I mean,
she's a slave, but just in case they got stopped, they had all this documentation, or a lot of the letters were like, she's a passenger.
Well, I mean, you could go the opposite direction and just make it so that she was doing the slavery.
Oh, so she was the slaver.
Yeah, fuck it, why not? I mean, if that makes more sense to the law than anything else, then that's fine.
Well, it's not a matter of sense at this point. It's what do you guys want to do? It's your story.
I think it's cool. I think it'd be cool if your sister's in slavery and we're trying to and we have to track her down.
Yeah,
that'd be a good
make
story.
her a villain or something like that.
If you want to go you want to go that direction then, all right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really see the character being family orientated. I don't know. There's the thing I have, the problem that I have with a lot of the way that this game positions the character creation is it sort of makes up your background. This is how you are when you pick this background. It's very set in stone. So the idea that I had for this character and the idea that's growing out of the backgrounds from what I've chosen is very different. So,
I mean, maybe maybe the redemption thing that you've got going on. Maybe it's not your redemption. You're trying to redeem your sister because she's a goddamn slaver, and try and do it that way.
Or she she's so well known as a slaver, right? That she's ruined the family name or something like that, and it's less about like it's less about like redeeming the name, but more about putting a stop to whatever she's doing, and so that whoever's left in this family can do better. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a weird one.
That could also tie into your selfishness thing as well. It's like, hey, I don't want, you're ruining things for me by like.
Yeah, and one of the questions that they actually have here in the 20 questions, because I don't know if you guys did it, but there was something along the lines of what does your character want? And I wrote down that to make a name for himself, right? So that when he leaves this existence, whatever you want to call it, however they say it, that he would be known for his deeds, good or bad, right? And it's hard to do that when someone is overshadowing you with their own deeds, the bad ones, the slaving.
So now what's your sister's name, by the way?
Okay, let's make it nice and easy. How about Mia? There you go, it's nice and easy.
So basically, you want to get out from under her shadow.
Sure. But like, whatever that shadow might be, it's obviously a bad one, but it's undermining her entire existence is a good start. So.
Right. So right now you're known as Mia's brother, and you want to be Juan Diego, maybe?
That's a weird way to put it. Or more like any time that we try, like I try and maybe the name Diego is sort of known as like a known slaver. So it's very hard for me to throw off that ideal unless someone stops permutating that particular falsehood about me. I don't know. It's a tough one, but not being in her shadow anymore sounds like a good start. We can go with that.
Yeah, and you can always tweak as we go. This is not set in stone. This is to give us a starting point. So Edward, you or James, Edward was on the ship where she worked, or maybe she was your commander?
Does she work? Would she work for the ATC, or should she her own? Would she be her own like?
Well, I mean, the ATC dominates the slave trade, so probably if she's a slaver, then.
Yeah, but she may sell it to the ATC, if you know what I mean. She may be someone that sells the slaves to the ATC, and then the ATC then transports them over to the new world.
Could be. I don't know. I mean, how do you know her? You've been on ships, so.
Well, yeah, perhaps. Well, maybe she's okay. So let's stick with the passenger idea. Maybe she's been a special passenger on the ship, and she's been treated like.
Oh, someone's written something in the chat here. The name defines a fallacy that is tiresome and restrictive. She's a slaver of the name, and it must be liberated, whatever it may be. So the name has to be liberated. Is that right, Stoner Spain?
Well, it's like, does that make sense, Dave? Like imagine if you were a cousin of Adolf Hitler, right?
Right.
Like imagine how fucked up and hard your life would be, even though you had nothing to do with it, right? So
you're Fred Hitler, and
yeah, you're Fred Hitler, and you're just like, well, I mean, I met him once at a family gathering. I don't know the guy.
All the deviled eggs. That's all I remember.
Exactly, right? So that's how I imagine the story being like, he can't be his own person when, like the idea of his existence is brought down because his sister is such a well-known slaver.
Yeah, like it doesn't even have to be specifically slavery. I think, which is I think Stone Spain's going for, is that she's just got this infamy around her, and it just infects everything about your name. Like what that ends up being in terms of specifics, we can play to find out. But
in some places slavery is accepted, in other places it's not. Is that the case? Or
I'm sorry, say that again.
Is slavery overall negatively seen in
yes in Théah it absolutely is. Now although it's negatively seen, that doesn't necessarily mean that anyone does anything about it. So for example, in Vodachi, technically slavery is bad, but they don't really do anything about it. In Castile, the Vatican Church frowns on slavery quite a bit. Montaigne certainly frowns on slavery a lot and is not in favor of it. But, whether they do anything about it kind of depends on who they are. And, Théah is not actively trying to free anyone, but they don't care for it. Again, depends on the country. Sarmatian Commonwealth, certainly they do not care for slavery at all and would actively try to stop it. So where you're from, they don't care for it and they would try to stop it.
Yeah, because everyone is like, it's a democracy where every citizen's like name is noble and the king is like the least powerful king in the world. And yeah, interesting. I like this.
Yeah, I think that Mia should be the captain of the ship that Edward was on in the ATC.
Well,
maybe kind of ties together with your whole like, hey, I got sacked or I lost my job because I freed a bunch of slaves. It's like, you can pop a sort of enmity there, sort of enmity there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I was thinking that maybe because I'm in the background. I'm crafting the ship at the moment.
Oh, all right.
Because I get to do it.
Yes. So you're making your ship.
Yeah. Do I get?
On currently.
Yeah. Do I get? It says so. Married to the sea, you have access to a ship. If you and your allies already have access to a ship, your ship gains an additional background.
That's right.
Do I start with a background at all, or does it not start with a background?
So ship. Well, let's take a look. To be honest, I haven't gone through these rules in a while. Normally, there's some, I think, vagueness about how old the ship is. I would say probably you can have one background for free, and then you get to pick one for your advantage.
All right, cool.
And you should think about where the ship came from.
Okay, so all right, so
I'm forgiving as a ship as is.
I've already made decisions. All right, so really sorry, guys. I know I could have brought everyone in. So I've named the ship. It could change. I've called it Stormbreaker.
Ooh, that's almost more Vestin than Avalon, but.
Well, it's not an Avalon ship.
Oh, all right.
Stole it.
It's a brigantine, and and its origin is A to Bean Trading Company, which special feature gives me once per episode. Hang on, I can just do this. Once per episode, a company ship can repel all boarders for a single round of an action sequence.
For a single round of an action sequence. Okay. That's not that long. So
one round is one roll of dice.
Yeah, but that could be the difference between us, like,
What I'm saying, it doesn't seem super overpowered, so that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
But it just makes
the thing is, it affects every border as well. So that includes groups of people and like big NPC characters, and all of them get delayed.
And
right, brutes and villains. Well, a border in this case is a border. So whoever's trying to get on your ship that you don't want.
It just also means that we can like get ready for an attack or people boarding.
See monsters climbing aboard from the depths.
Is that count?
They're swinging over. There's
a megalodon trying to jump on the deck. Yeah.
Megalodon. Yeah, we're not.
Get a T-Rex on deck.
No T-Rexes. The Megalodon would exist in the Atabean Sea. There are big monsters there. But I think we're going to stay around Théah for a while. There are gigantic sharks. There is actually a gigantic shark in the Atabean Sea.
I get two. You're giving me two backgrounds, yeah?
Yeah, because since you spent the points on the Married to the Sea. But you only can take a background once. Any particular background you can only have once.
So what is that background called? The first one?
It's not a background. It's the origin of the ship.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so basically, this. I'll read it out to you. I'll read out what it exactly said. A2B Trading Company. Elite company ships are fast, light, and sturdy. A combination that has led more than one pirate to commandeer one of the company's finest vessels as her own. Of course, it's easier to steal a company ship in the dead of night than to take one on the open seas. Such elite vessels are difficult craft to catch and board. Once per episode, a company ship can repel all boarders for a single round of an action sequence. It also makes sense because in my head, once I freed the saves, I probably just took the ship.
Yeah,
And it wasn't one of the junk. It wasn't one of the junk trader ones. It was actually like a proper ship. You know, one of the decent ships that they have, not the garbage things that they just usually use. So I'm thinking as a background. I'm thinking Smuggler Queen. Your ship excels at getting into places she isn't supposed to, either breaching a blockade port under the cloak of night or landing at hidden smuggler ports.
there are backgrounds in the core book too.
Yeah, I know. I was just
making sure that you knew about those.
When you seek to sail your ship into forbidden waters and avoid notice, you may spend a hero point in order to do so. So it means we can slip in anywhere we need to go.
That's cool.
And then the next one, I haven't decided, but there isn't massive amounts.
No, and if there's something that you want that's not here, we can make it up.
Question for the GM.
Yes.
Now, a ship's like a difficult thing to run. We will have a crew as well.
Of course.
Okay.
Yep, and we don't need to figure it out today, but there will be basically the roles that the players can't fill. There will be NPCs to do them.
Yeah, and
so there'll be a gunner. There'll be
that'll turn out to be more important when new players come along, maybe.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Depending on the character.
Yeah. No, you have to have a crew, especially since only two of you have sailing.
Three.
All three of you have sailing. So
yeah, I'm the only one without it.
So these are the two that I'm thinking about, okay? And I'm going to throw it out to everyone. Pirate Hunter. Your ship was once used to hunt pirates. When your crew rolls dice against pirates, their 10 explodes.
Okay, so do you remember what exploding 10s are?
Yes, it just means when you roll a 10, you can re-roll it, and it adds to the...
Right. Well, but are you going to be... Well...
The other one...
Actually, it would make sense that it was a pirate hunter. That's what the ATC would use a ship like that for.
The other thing, prominent battle. Your ship survived a horrible battle and has gained a reputation for being able to survive. Your ship can take 5 critical hits before becoming crippled instead of 4. So it has a bit more survivability than...
Is that just add an extra star on the end, or does it actually give you 4 more hit points as well?
It gives you 4 more. So it's a critical hit is like a dramatic wound, but for a ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's kind of like
I get that, but like, is there still the 4 middle ones in between?
Yep.
Okay.
What counts as a pirate?
A pirate. Well, I mean, they would have to be member of the Brotherhood or some other ship that considers itself a pirate. They could be a privateer. It'll be pretty clear in context whether it's a pirate or not.
Yeah. Okay.
So what do you guys think? Which one would you guys prefer? Because they're both very good.
I prefer exploding against pirates, but I think the other one might be more useful in the long run.
No, I mean, exploding dice. Is that just on ship actions, or is that on everything?
When crew roll dice against pirates, their 10 explodes. So it's against.
Okay, so
anything
it counts
against
all rolls then,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the exploding 10 ones are pretty good. Now, if you already have exploding 10s on sailing, for example, like if you have 4 points, I think it is.
Nobody does yet, so.
Yeah, but if James, you get to 4 points, right? You will naturally have it. But when we're fighting pirates, we'll have...
Yeah, but I won't have it for weaponry or all the other skills that I might want to be using against them. It would only be for one specific skill that I'd get the 10s.
Now,
where for that
remember,
pirate...
if you're fighting the ATC, you'll probably be allied with pirates. Right? Because pirates also generally don't like the ATC. Unless they happen to work for the ATC. Right. I mean, well, you could be dealing with pirates who are in the employ of the ATC, and there are some, or privateers.
I mean, a group of pirates is definitely not going to like privateers because, you know, they're not part of us.
Right. They work
They're
for
on
a
their
country.
own. Yeah. Or even the ones that are going it alone as well.
Right.
Like, because if they're not with us, they're
They're
not with
against us. Yeah. Well, but it's up to you. It's your ship, so.
Yeah, I'm just
You
throwing
guys-
it out. I'm just throwing it out there for everyone, for people, you know. Much like
what's the one that isn't exploding dice again?
prominent battle. Your ship survived a horrible battle and has gained a reputation for being able
Well,
to survive.
thematically, that one makes more sense because you know, your ship got beat the fuck up as you tried to run away with it or something. Because in the long run, having more HP is always a good thing. Like just flat out. But HP is kind of like a weird Morpheus state in this game. You know, like it's sometimes it really affects you, and a lot of times it doesn't. So it really comes down to like because. If we're running away from something and the only person who's making sailing rolls is James, health could be a really big thing, you know. But if everyone's working coordinated together, then it might not be huge.
Just remember though that if anyone else takes Married to the Sea advantage, the ship will gain additional.
No one else took it. You're it.
No, but if they decide to take it down the road,
Right.
so the ship can improve. I think I'm going to go for prominent battle then. I think that makes the most sense because that
It's
will
always going to be happening rather than some of the times happening.
Right.
Yeah.
We should talk about. We'll talk about the wound track. And next time I'll have a graphic I can put up.
Narrative's more important.
Yeah. You know, in this game, it's not hit points like in some games. It's wounds, and you'll have if you look on your character sheet. Or maybe I can actually pull up a character sheet.
Yeah, there's at the top there. There's the 4 dots and then a star.
I don't think the Twitch can see it.
Right, I know. I haven't
YouTube
I haven't shared it yet.
YouTubers.
Let's see
What
if I
can
can.
they see?
They will in a second.
Oh, right, the board's there. I see it. Cool.
Yeah, as soon as and I can show it to the audience in a moment. There we go. The so the death spiral, dun dun dun. It actually says in the rules that you're supposed to do that. Make that noise. The point of the death spiral is those little circles are wounds. You're a big tough hero, so they don't really affect you. What affects you are those big stars that happen every 5 wounds. Those are each one of those is a dramatic wound, and you actually will get tougher as you go. So the first dramatic wound will get you an extra bonus die. Now, the second dramatic wound is not as good. The villains get a bonus dice. And then on the third dramatic wound, your 10s will explode. The thing about this game is that it is really hard to die. Just running out of wounds does not do it. You can, you know.
It's also worth pointing out that the dramatic wounds stay with you, but every time you get out of combat, you get all the dots.
Regular wounds heal. Yep, dramatic wounds take a little more work to get rid of. But they're not always a bad thing.
That kink in your knee that doesn't go away or something like that. It like builds character, your character and stuff.
Now
like
they're
that.
not permanent. They can heal, but it takes time.
Don't they go away after the session? Is that right?
It depends, and I think the answer is probably yes. Although you'll heal 1 between sessions, 1 dramatic wound. Mm-hmm. So the just to give you the speech about death, death is not something that happens just by running out of wounds. I mean, you can be on a ship that explodes and you get thrown into the sea, you won't die. You can get a ship's mast through your chest, you won't die. The only way you die is to be helpless, which is to have 4 dramatic wounds, and a villain, specifically a villain, spends a danger point and says, I kill you. And then at the end of the round, you die. Now, one thing is that all NPCs are considered helpless, so they're already at that stage. So they can be killed just with a danger point. But that's it. So you really don't die easily in this game. You can certainly get wounded and deal with consequences, but death is something that narratively we have to sort of agree is appropriate.
All right.
Okay.
It doesn't just happen.
So with my hard to kill, I've got like an extra tier of.
That's exactly right. You have a fifth dramatic wound before
Nice.
you become helpless.
In Blades in the Dark, there are like you can resist things, and you take level 4 wounds, which will kill you. But
That's Fate Core, isn't it?
No.
It's its own thing.
Okay.
But you can choose to not resist and just die, right?
Right.
If it's narratively appropriate in this game, and it would like be a really good ending for a character, we can just like
Of course, absolutely. Yep. If there's something that
you're beholden to the rules. You cannot die. No.
No, absolutely. If you think it's narratively appropriate and you're good with it, we'll do it.
It's rare.
It's also
I'll
worth
just tell
pointing
you
out
right
that
now.
there's a really good narrative structure in here where you can narratively fail a roll in exchange for things happening as well. I think you get a hero point, if I remember correctly.
Normally, yes.
If you say something like, maybe you're trying to jump across a building, for example, and then instead of making the roll to attempt to, or whatever, you can just say, I fail. And then you, like, I don't know, fall 3 stories and fall through a window or something like that,
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Everything moves forward in this game, regardless of whether you pass or succeed or die or whatever. So
yeah, you can always choose to fail. You can choose a narrative path. And frankly, if you choose a really dramatic narrative path, I'm going to say it's okay. We'll figure out how to make it work mechanically. So drama, good storytelling trumps everything. I'm not going to worry. We're not going to be tied down to, the rules say you can't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the rules actually specifically say these are guidelines, not rules.
I
If it's
think
a
we've got
story
5
deal.
GMs here, so we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's see. So we've got. So Juan Diego, we've got you connected to Edward. So now we just need to get Edward and Juan connected to Reinhard and Petras.
well, I think that's pretty easy. We've got a scholar that's searching for something, yeah? So
Okay.
why don't we make it so that maybe one of the slaves that was brought back was some sort of, had some sort of mystical thing, MacGuffin, as it were.
Okay.
And this MacGuffin is paramount to, say, some sort of ritualistic demon thing or whatever.
Or at least Charles thinks it is.
Yeah, right. Whether it is or isn't is beyond the point. But he caught a lead of this slave being traded, and a name kept coming up: Mia Diago. Boom. There you go. Nice and easy.
Yeah, and let's say that Edward actually has it with him, has no idea what it is. It's just decorative, and maybe he keeps it in his cabin, or if
And
it's small enough.
maybe the idea is the slave. You don't know where the slave came from, and the only person who knows is the person who got the slave.
Oh, so you want to actually have him? You think searching for the slave, or Edward just has the object now?
Well, I think searching for Mia Diago might be the way to go there, because
okay.
he might have whatever this MacGuffin is, but maybe it's a piece, or it's a small piece of what could potentially be a very large find, or something along those lines, right?
So maybe it's a piece that's part of a group of things, and the thing that Petras
Like a
really
key or
needs.
something like that, right?
I know exactly, and because I mean the corruption will be a bit off, but hey, let's say that I made a major deal at one point with my demon, and the deal was to find this artifact and
There you go.
give it back.
So that's
So
your
I
half.
have to. No,
But then-
because no, that doesn't work, because until you've completed a deal, you can't use favors. So
That's right. You can't do another deal.
Yeah.
And maybe the game starts you getting this thing and finalizing the deal with the demon.
Yeah, and that's how I know you.
Right. So maybe it is that Edward actually has it, has the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Wait,
And then
what-
the next
are you-
demon deal will be like,
Are you
get the next piece.
are you as a scholar? Are you interested in like what you're a scholar of? Are you into?
I'm interested in power. My character, like main goal is power.
He's
Like,
on the
not
fast track to villainy.
Right, okay.
Yes and no. Like I can play it either way.
Why do you want the power?
He's not.
Were you weak as a child and you want to be strong? Is it you want to help somebody? There are lots of reasons to want power.
If I have it, the bad guys don't.
I think no. I think it's insecurity.
So he was
It
weak.
belongs in a museum.
I think he saw a lot of people that were stronger than him when he was younger, and he just saw it, and he saw the great things that other heroes have done and stuff, and he kind of may have witnessed some of it, and was just like, I need this myself, because otherwise I'm going to be nothing standing next to these people that can do so much.
And that's why you've even gone so far as to make a deal with a demon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other option is to like specifically one of the 20 questions might help you find the answer to this, but what do you want to leave as your legacy? Maybe the people that you looked up to were adventurers or people of old that for the most part did these great deeds and found these great items. And
so my character, like, less openly, like, this wouldn't be open information, but my character would definitely be after immortality. Like, his legacy would be himself forever. Like,
interesting.
My legacy is that I am just forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? Woody Allen said, "I don't want
to legacy by not dying."
Yeah, well, that was what Woody Allen had some line about. I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve immortality through not dying.
Yeah, that would be Petra's legacy.
But why would you be on my ship? That's the question.
Well, maybe he's not yet.
I'm.
So you've chartered the ship.
I could be like, to be part of the crew. I'd put myself forward as being useful. And
how did you demonstrate it? Did you have the demon do something?
I can conjure lightning. My favor. I can.
The storm's stopping us from leaving port. Wait a second.
and I can go, okay, hide this item or anything, and I'll be able to find it, and I can do this with any item and just show off that way. It's easy to show off these things.
And what did the demon make you do in exchange?
I've been thinking about that. I'm not sure.
For a minor deal, it's just something probably embarrassing.
Praise or something.
Yeah, it'll probably be something humiliating.
Yeah, it's something I'm going to think about.
Okay.
I might not even come up with it today. I will try to.
All right. Well, so I think we've got some decent story hooks here. So we've all come together. Let's see. So Reinhard and Petras are searching for something bigger than this MacGuffin. But Petras.
I definitely think my story probably ties into also wanting to find out about this fate witch that gave me over to my adopted parents, and or where I'm really from, But,
ooh, and maybe there's a family crest or something that was on a blanket that you were delivered with, and it's shown up on something.
Yeah, totally.
In a basket of reeds in a river,
Not that cliche.
Whoa.
I was thinking more Oedipus than Moses.
Yeah, I mean, I got my friend with a demon who can part the seas for us, so it's like
he literally can.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, potentially. I mean, maybe I have a personal relationship to this artifact as well, and that's. I mean, it could be that, hey, I was handed over. Here's also a fragment of an artifact. Found him. He's searching for another fragment of artifact. It's like, what does it do?
I got a name for the show, James. It's called MacGuffin Hunters.
Yeah.
MacGuffin Hunters.
There you go. Oh, Well, I like that. That should be definitely be the campaign name, MacGuffin Hunters.
Really?
No,
They can
no.
probably come up with a better name for the MacGuffin, but
Yeah, otherwise it's too Scottish.
The Ember of a Madman. There you go. Boom. Show title. I can write for a living. Jesus Christ, I'm so.
Where did you get that from? Do you have a random name generator, or did you make that up?
No, it just like I imagine that these things are just like fucking colored stones that have power in them for some reason. I don't know.
Oh, I like that. Oh,
Some-
well, that's
some
good, because
sort
that
of-
way we have a set of stones that they have to find.
Yeah, and you can just and maybe when they're all together, you get this compulsion to push it into your brain and become Diablo. I don't know. Just an idea.
you snap
I'm
your
in.
fingers and
I'm
half
in.
of everyone dies. No, that's nice.
So Petras is searching for a set of magic stones that when he plants in the ground, a beanstalk will grow. No, not that. But we don't know what the magic stones do. No beanstalks. Maybe to help him control the demon or something that he thinks will help him control the demon.
Embers of a Madman. Was that the title?
Yeah, sure. That's what I said. Yeah.
I like that. That's
Yeah,
better than any title I would have
If
come
it's,
up with.
if it's to control the demon, then the demon wouldn't have suggested it, but it could have come up in my studies or something.
Exactly. You
And
learned
plus-
about it.
With my secret society, they're also about there's the like favors for artifacts and locations of artifacts, and that's one of the things that they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Find that dangerous stuff.
But I like the idea of a set of things to find, because that way you find Edward has the first one, but there's of course more to find.
You got to find the Triforce.
Oh, our post has arrived. I can tell because my dog is barking.
They don't put it through the door though. You have a little box. Anyway,
Just a box.
and I could call it just Embers. That doesn't make any sense.
What's
Hmm.
etcher mean?
Hmm?
What's that first word you said?
Embers.
No, etches embers.
How about
What'd you call it?
how about Stones of a Dievas? I can spell it.
Why aren't these stones just called the Demon Tears, and we could just call the show Demon's Tears?
I'm fine with that.
Or maybe be a little bit prophetic about a name change for the ship. It's called the Stormbreaker. We're currently looking for stones. Call it the Stonebreaker or something. Like that's the name. It's like because
Stonebreaker sounds a little.
Sounds like it'd be set.
People will be covering up their ghoulies, I think. On that.
Yeah. We come up with
We
something.
don't need it now. We don't need it now.
No, we don't need them. But I like these names. I like this.
Story stuff. From what I understand, that you can have a story that arcs over like multiple periods, yeah, or like
Absolutely.
interconnected story or something like that.
Sure.
So I think mine's pretty simple. Put Mia down, at least at the beginning. That's how I would phrase it in every sense of the word as
Well,
well.
so that's the end. That's your goal,
That's the goal, yeah.
right? But so there are a couple things. So what do you want to get out of it mechanically?
Well, this is like ideally that's sort of like I see that as like the grand character crescendo arc, whatever you want to call it. However, when it comes to building the character and whatnot, the first one that I can think of would be to get the 2-point advantage, valiant spirit.
So that's a two-step story.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not
But it
gonna
doesn't
put it out
necessarily
to-
have to be 2 steps, right? So it could be a smaller part towards a bigger picture. Yeah.
Right. So so let's think about maybe. So what would be a step along the way that's still a big step? Find out what ship she's on, or I mean, how much of a mystery is? What do you need to know? I mean, do you know where she is? Do you not know where she is? When was the last time you talked to her?
Well, I would think at this point, maybe like early teens.
So
Let's
that's
say-
what, a decade or more.
Yeah, let's say that. And what I'm basing a lot of what I'm finding on her is mostly rumor, speculation. She's at this point a character that's larger than life, right? Like she's like the Chuck Norris of the
Right.
of the world in a little way, you know. Like there's so many stories about her that add, like, you know, she's so menacing that she has 4 heads and, you know, shit like that, right? Like she's the boogeyman that gets told to kids to stay away from the docks by themselves so that they don't get stolen away by Mad Mia. And
So maybe your goal for this step would be find out where she last left from, like what port she was last seen in. Because then we could go to that port. Then we could go to that port, and then your next step would be to, you know, your next story could be like to continue that you know, the multiple steps. Multiple steps.
Well, I was thinking something along the lines of like, at least at this stage, damaging her reputation might be a good starting point. Like, whatever that might be, like, you know.
So how would you do that valiantly, since you want to get valiant spirit out of it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. So it would have to be something along the lines of potentially like
maybe you want to show people that you're not what she is.
So I kind of am in at least at the beginning of the game, right? Kind of am like her in some way at the beginning of this game. So potentially it could just be that like, are we that's a tough one. I don't know how to put it out there like that, because maybe I shouldn't take valiant spirit at this point then, if that's the case. Like mechanically I want it, but at the same time, you know, this game comes back to being like, well, you're not a hero right now, so it doesn't make sense for you to have it. So
well, it's that the story should tie to it, right? It's not just, oh, I have points, let me spend it on mechanically what I want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. And that's why I'm considering that
Well, why don't you think about it for a minute and let somebody else come up with some ideas. So, Monty, you haven't really spoken much for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm still sort of. I mean, I kind of know where my story wants to end. I want to, or at least the first part of that, which is finding this fate witch that handed me over when I was a baby and getting some answers from her. I mean, I guess a story to follow on from that would be.
That's sort of your long-term story, yeah.
But in terms of the short-term, I mean, I guess it's like, I mean, I don't even know who she is, or like there's a lot of information I need to put together before I can even begin to find her. So,
well, so what's the first piece of information? What do you have for that you know? What link do you have? Do you have something with a logo on it, or a?
I mean, I know the name of the ship it was that she was on, like because my father would have told me.
What ship was it?
And that was a good name for Verdachi ship.
Let's see. Wine of the Devil.
Nice. Yeah. Let's go with that. Yeah, so I guess I guess the first step in that would be trying to find find the ship.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And, any thoughts on what you would get for an advantage out of that, or a skill, or whatever it is?
Keep in mind you can get a skill point if you don't know whatever you want to get.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you get traits as well?
You can, but what it is that you actually have to, you get permission to move points around, so you actually don't get additional points.
You can you can get up to 15 points, though, can't you? So you can get an additional. You can get 2 additional points, I think.
Let's see. So,
Or was it 3? I can't remember.
well, you've already got 13. So yeah, you can get, there are 2 more that you start with 13. There, in theory, there are 2 more that you can get. They're not easy to get though.
I mean, I think probably something like signature item makes sense. Like, you know, it's almost like something close to me that allows me to, that also serves as a clue to the next step.
Yeah. All right. Actually, that makes a lot of sense, especially given that you're sort of, well, not Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Munich Jones or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. So let's see. So your first step is probably to get a lead,
Yeah.
and then we can figure out the other step after that.
It'd be Davy Jones, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
He was in the Monkeys. Sorry. And actually here it's the Devil Jonah.
Oh, the other thing I know the first name of the Fate Witch. I don't know the last name.
Oh, yeah. So who's that?
It's Penelope, because that's where my middle name comes from. It's like, like basically, like a part of the backstory anyway. It's like, you know, father's ship was like spared, like by the Fate Witch type thing, and so he named his new son that. Like, she basically said, take this kid, or like, you know,
Right.
He gave you know, that sort of Eisen sort of middle name named after an honored friend type thing. He named after her, so I've got
Excellent.
an actual middle name.
Well, I think that is a really good first draft of or even more than a first draft of a story. We can work with that.
Cool.
All right. So Edward, or James, as it were.
Yep.
What do you think your story's going to be?
So the story is so it's I've recently obviously left the ATC.
Right.
Now it doesn't really fall under any of the like categories that I had, but I was wondering if I could have like the ATC is pursuing me, and I want to.
You can get a reputation within, which is 2 points.
Oh no! This is not. I was going to change. So yeah, basically stop the stop the current pursuers. Basically, the people that are like currently chasing me, like the.
Okay.
And what I wanted to do was change one of my quirks into the quirk from the company escapee, which is earn a hero point when you subvert the company's plans or sabotage its income stream.
All right. So have you already found how much it costs to change a quirk?
Yeah, quirk is a free step to change. If you look on, if
I see it.
if everyone looks down in the handout section, I actually made a handout for stories.
Oh, it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's near the bottom. I've got it here. Quirks require 3 steps.
Or 160.
Yeah. But I was thinking of doing that, and obviously the first step. I'm not sure what the first step would be, but the end step would be basically either convincing my pursuers to bugger off and say that I'm no longer a threat, or just leave them, you know, or just basically sink the ship that they're pursuing me with.
Right. I mean, or persuade them that you're dead.
Yeah, but I don't know what the first step would be.
Well, so let's think about this. Do you know who the pursuers are, or do you just know that you're being pursued?
I don't know, but I know I'm being pursued.
Well, so maybe step 1 is to figure out who's pursuing you.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's see. So Charles, what do you think for Petras?
I don't know. So wait, Dave, what's your story again that you're going for? Because it was
well, I mean, the ultimate goal here is to murder the sister, but
the current one.
Yeah, he hasn't figured that out yet.
Yeah, I'm still gonna go with Valiant Spirit, but I'm not sure how I'm supposed to word that.
Yeah. So I was thinking that I was probably going to go with a 2-step thing.
Okay.
To get another sorcery. If that's how they're costed, I can change it.
I think so.
Yeah, I look into it. It's you just rebuy it, which seems a little
Cheap,
odd
but
considering how powerful those sorceries can get. But yeah.
well, with Gintaras, there's big trade-offs. So
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So find out where the slave was found, and then
For 2.1, you mean? Yeah.
Hmm?
For the resolution of that would be you find where the slave came from. Yeah.
well, wait. So let's
No.
flesh out the story. So there were magic stones, a set of stones. Edward had one of them, and now there's a slave who knows where the rest of them are, or
no. So one of the slaves was in possession of one of the stones, which led me to Edward
okay.
because of the sister. Edward,
Is the slave working on Edward's ship? No, I guess not.
Probably not. Absolutely not. But finding out where the slave, like, let's say the slave's dead now, just because happenstance slaves don't get treated well,
Okay.
and Edward would be the stone. I need to find out where the slave came from as a lead to find out where the slave got the stone, right?
Okay, so find out where the stone came from.
Yeah, and
So now you need a lead. So step one is
no, find out where the slave came from, and then the resolution would be go there and find more information on the stone.
That's a huge step.
yeah, that's a little big.
That's like off the map sort of step,
Right.
because
Trying to-
the
wanna keep it a
slaves
little
come from a
map.
completely different map region than what we're playing in right now. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
I'll have to get more
generically yes, that's where the slaves come from. So yeah.
Yeah, they generally come from Ifri, which is, I mean, I have the book Lands of Gold and Fire, but it takes us out of.
That'd take a while.
Yeah, that'd definitely be more than 2 steps for sure.
Okay, it's just me not knowing the world well enough.
That's all right. That's why we're talking it out. Well, so, I mean, your goal. Well, so the ultimate goal is to get. I mean, just the larger goal is to get the rest of the stones, right?
Yeah.
So you want to find, basically you're trying to get a lead on where the stones came from.
So it could be as simple as let's say the ship that brought all these slaves back, there happened to be more slaves with more stones, and they're spread across the continents.
I want to. So you got the stone off the slave because at some point, or the stone led its way back to you, and you know that a slave had it to begin with. With that information, I need to A, find the slave, and B, free the slave.
So that means probably going to the New World, which is fine. I mean, that's certainly some shipboard stuff to deal with.
Well, wouldn't there be some slaves? We don't know. We don't know where we start yet, do we?
We haven't decided that. I guess I was assuming it was in Théah somewhere because that's where you are.
Yeah,
there may be some hidden slavery going on in Théah. That's not beyond.
No, it's less likely because it's. I mean, there might be servants, but the kind of slavery that we're thinking of really is in the New World, plantations and the like. You know what it historically similar to what it historically was.
So there's no indentured stuff where you're owed. You're basically paying off a debt.
Well, there certainly could be.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be probably not connected to the Atabean Trading Company, which.
Okay.
But.
Okay, then I need to think some more.
Okay, I mean, you don't have to decide all this now. part of it is, that's why I want people thinking about it, and we can make it.
Yeah, I mean,
So I've got a simple one for you. Valiant Spirit. I'm going to learn about all the evil deeds that my sister has committed.
There you go.
And the first step would be to find someone who has heard of her personally and maybe get like factual information from them.
Excellent. All right.
Obviously, other than myself, because I've probably told you some things already, but
I imagine in your position, you wouldn't have known her personally, like,
and not for very long.
And maybe even like what you know of her is in fact still rumor. Like,
Okay.
like, oh, there's that captain, and did you hear she killed like 40 men with her own 2 hands and no bladed weapons and all that. Shit like that, right? Just larger than life, stupid stuff that she projects about herself or whatever. So
no, I like that. That's great.
And that to give you an idea, like if you're struggling there, Charles, that is very much a 2 plot story thing that, like, you got to think a lot smaller than what you were thinking just now.
So how about learning about the history of the stones, or learning more about?
Yeah, that's pretty simple. Yeah.
And that's more along the lines of a 2-step story. So
instead of not so much learning with the history, but sort of toying with the stone that you have in order to unlock more secrets of sorcery.
And also, you only need to do the first step anyway. You don't need to think about second step until you've completed the first step.
Exactly.
You can see Matt may offer something to you that you go, hang on, I could pursue that line. Just all you need is an end of what you get out of, the end and what you get out, the reward that you get from completing it.
Step 1.
Yeah, only step 1.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot easier then.
Cool. And now your second story.
All right.
Yep, we need a second story from you.
Or you can think about it.
Yeah.
Wait, so what was your first step again? I apologize. I was reading something on the Twitch chat.
The first step is to find a lead on information on the nature of the stones. Find out the nature of the stones, I guess.
Okay.
And another one. I don't know like how many steps yet, but let's say there's been a soothsayer that's been causing some trouble, and so I feel like it's my responsibility to try and deal with them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the size of the story depends kind of on the size of the reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't have to decide that this minute. That's a great start, though. That gives me a lot to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unless there's other business to take care of, I think we've reached our time.
Mm-hmm.
James, is that right?
Yep. Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. So yeah, it is good to wrap up. Maybe we could talk in Discord about some other things if anyone has any questions or anything further they want to add. What was I thinking of doing? Yeah, we'll do shout outs and get people, and we'll wrap the stream up. So yes,
Okay.
So we'll start with Henley. Henley, give yourself a little shout out.
Hi, I'm Henley, or Dave, whatever you prefer. I used to be a professional streamer, partnered, all that shit. Gave it up for a life of and a career, as it turns out. But if you want to go check out all the role-playing goodness that I've done in the past, you can do so. I have a YouTube, has like 3,000 to 4,000 hours worth of role-playing content on there. And apparently, if the publisher of Cyberpunk 2020 is to be believed, the longest-running Cyberpunk 2020 campaign on YouTube. So there you go. It's 45 sessions long at 4 hours a piece, so I guess it is fairly long. Anyway, yeah, that's me. Can't wait to actually start playing this game because it's one of those games where like I'm just sort of making a character flailing in the wind for the most part. And once we actually get to role playing, the character will make sense.
Exactly. And we'll start that in 1 week.
Dark?
Cool. So I'm Monty, aka Dark Liquid. I make the occasional RPG product, like Lost Haven's one of them. I've written for another couple of Numenera things. I also ran Blades in the Dark on here for a while, so it'd be interesting to get back to find out the conclusion of that story at some point in the future. But for now, I'm super excited to be a player and see what Reinhard gets up to and discovers about his mysterious past. Should be good.
Charlie? Sorry, Charles. Sure, when you started, you said, I don't mind Charlie, and that's why I've stuck calling you Charlie.
I don't mind.
Yeah, but you said you prefer Charles, so I'll say Charles.
I do. Good.
You threw me a curveball.
Yeah, thanks for watching us. I'll see you next week.
Woo! Short and brief. And Matt.
Well, so I still have no real online presence for you to follow, but that may change over the coming weeks. Thanks for watching. It's great to see some people interacting in the chat. Hopefully we'll have a few more next week, and I'll try to respond to people's ideas as they come up. But I think this will be exciting and a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. You guys are a fun group, so we'll see what happens.
Opinionated.
I think the other benefit as well is that we have sort of aligned our stories as well.
But that's what the purpose of the session 0 is.
Yeah, I mean, like our actual like hero stories and shit like that. I think they're kind of aligned, so that we're not all over the fucking map, and you're having to go, oh god, how am I going to get everyone's story into the game? Anyway, that's my thing. But yeah, anyway, thank you everyone for playing, and thank you Matt for like agreeing to run it, because I mean, like I said, when I attempted to run, because I played twice now 7th Sea before this. One was with Henley and one was on my Sunday night group, and as I said, I get the system on paper. It was just trying to implement it I always struggled with.
Yeah, I struggled a little bit too with like, hey, I want to do this small thing, can I do it? And in a lot of cases, like, well, it's challenging enough to be like a risk, but there's no system in place for just doing a 1 dice roll risk.
You can do 1 dice roll risks.
Yeah, but it's kind of weird where like an on the spot a GM has to come up with like things that to tempt your risk, your what is it? Your raises away from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
in a lot of cases, it doesn't necessarily, like if I say I want to get into this lockbox and there's a guy behind me who's patrolling down the hallway, so I have to do this quickly. That's risky, but at the same time, like there's not a whole lot of opportunities that you can tempt away the risk from outside of just inherently making it more difficult for unknown reasons, right? So it's a weird one as a GM for sure. Yeah.
Well, and in many cases, what ends up happening is I will just say, yeah, you don't have any trouble doing that, just so we can move on.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless there's some good consequences that might come out of it, it's just not worth it. It's like, let's just move forward.
It's definitely one of those. It's a hard GM.
I think
habit to break. I guess.
I think Henley, if we once we see a good example of the game being run, it might click better. Do you know what I mean? It might click it might click.
Wait a second. I didn't agree to do a good game version of this game being run.
Okay.
out.
All right.
No pressure.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to shut up then. Before
Thanks for the game, Zero.
Okay. So also, guys, if you want to help support the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon, because that's the best place to do things. And also, if you're interested, our social media, the Discord, the PTG Discord, you can find us all there. Follow me on Twitter for like any updates and stuff like that. Facebook I pretty much use as Twitter as well. and then YouTube is where all the VODs go up, and they from now on they are edited VODs. I cut them down so that they're a bit shorter on YouTube, and a lot of the dead space is cut out. And it takes me a bloody long. It took me 10 hours to edit a 4-hour video down the other week. So yeah,
My suggestion, James, if you want to speed that up, is
practice.
Take notes when you're in the stream itself, and say like, okay, look at this recording time, and be like, boop, at this time this happened, and we can cut this out. And then you just go back through your timestamps. It'll save you so much more time, but you have to be more vigilant when you're playing. So, you know, good luck GMing and trying to do that at the same time.
Yeah, I'm just getting. I mean, it also practice as well. I think helps as well, and I haven't had much practice in editing.
Well, one suggestion I might have is if you can get someone who's just watching the stream, have them do the note taking for you, so you don't have to think about it.
Well, I'll try and find a pawn to do that. But yeah, other than that, this week we've got Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay on Thursday, and then we start 100% be starting our Pulp Cthulhu, the Two-Headed Serpent on Sunday, and that should be a pretty good game as well. It's called a Cthulhu.
Just straight Call of Cthulhu?
No, it's Pulp Cthulhu, which is like a bolt on that goes on to Call of Cthulhu. It just makes investigators a little bit more survivable, so they can do actual like long-term campaigns with the same characters.
I've always wanted to play a Call of Cthulhu game, but I'm inherently always vigilant against the mythos. That and Warhammer 40k is also the other mythos that's like inherently dangerous to get into. I thought that way about VTM, but VTM is kind of just like no one really cares what you do with it too much. But Warhammer and holy shit, Warhammer. But yeah, Call of Cthulhu also, like, you can get that so wrong, and it hurts people's brains when you do it. So yeah.
Although there's so many different versions now, I don't know how anyone can say, "Oh, well, this is the only right version." I mean, there's Cthulhu plushies, and
yeah, well,
I mean, you know, it's been
and the plushies have their own canon. And the plushies have their own canon.
Right.
But anyway,
thank
you all for watching, and we will see. So yes, and then on Monday we'll be back with a game of 7th Sea. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.